Welcome to Spelunkers, a place for exploring video games and nerd culture. This is the Game Exploration Show, where we break games down into digestible chunks, play through them together with the community, and discuss them in exhaustive detail. I'm Ryan, and as always, I'm joined by Tyler.
Hi.
Tom.
Hello.
Chris.
What up?
And we have a special guest tonight, the man I was cloned from, Bob Buel.
I'm getting the clone juice off me right now. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Get this man
thank you for
voice
joining us, sir.
outlet stat.
Several, in fact.
And we are here to discuss Phantasy Star 4, a game that came out, oh god, I'm probably going to get this wrong now, the Genesis, I believe?
Yep, Sega Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
Sega Genesis, okay.
94-ish, if memory
Yeah, it's like
serves?
95 for us, 94 Japan, I think. Or so it's either Genesis or is it Mega Drive in Japan?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so
anywhere
this is
outside
not
of
eligible
US.
for 2021 Game of the Year?
Could be.
My
Why not?
personal list? I don't know about that. Let's see if GameSpot, those cowards, can give it the justice it deserves. But
We played it in 2021, so it should qualify.
It came out in 1993.
Oh, it was 93.
December 17th, 1993.
Yeah,
good year.
Christmas present.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a
What
year
a
old when
Christmas that was.
who could forget?
I was 12. So remember it.
What a Christmas that was for you.
Actually, probably got this for Christmas. So
Nice.
and we are discussing everything up until the big boss fight on Kuran. So if you are playing through this and you don't want spoilers and you haven't gotten that far yet,
why the fuck
Stop
are you
right
listening
here.
to this?
yeah, you should come back at a later date.
I mean, you've had like 20 plus years to play it.
It's on every Sega Genesis collection compilation. Like, you got no excuse.
I was on almost every version of a Nintendo handheld as well. There's Phantasy Star collections. Game Boy Color, I think, had one.
Yeah,
And then from then on, there's just iterations of Phantasy Star.
it's funny. While I was playing this, I'm pretty into this game, so I was looking at like what other Phantasy Stars are good and I should play. And like 90% of the wiki is like re-releases. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Phantasy Star Origins. What is that? Oh, it's a re-release of the first game. Okay, just
Yeah.
over and over and over.
The only mainline ones, if we're not counting online, which is its own thing, yeah, you got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's outside of like text adventures and
One
stuff like
is
that.
good, but I don't think it's going to hold up. It is extremely difficult, and you get lost in those like dungeons real hardcore because it's first person
Oh,
and you move block by block. But
Yeah.
there's like hidden doors sometimes, so you have to turn left to look at the wall, but you don't know where they are. Like we used to have graph paper, my brothers and I, and make the maps for them, so we did not get lost. And
Yeah.
we got lost a lot, but
I will recommend though, if you want to replay Phantasy Star 1, which I can't super recommend, but they re-released it on the Switch not too long ago and actually gave those, because the dungeons
yeah, they'll give
themselves
you the
are first
map
person.
on the bottom right now.
Exactly. They basically give you a grid that is
Mhm.
the map of those dungeons, which is the worst part of that game. Like, or at least the most confusing, I should say. But yeah,
well,
2
that's a
is
good
the one
place
to
to
play.
start.
If anything.
where is
Gonna be
everyone
rough.
playing this game? Because I'm
I'm
playing on
playing-
PC.
I'm playing on Switch. Playing the Sega Genesis collection on Switch.
Same.
was
I'm also playing on PC, which it is technically the Sega Genesis collection, but on PC you can buy everything separate. So I just bought Phantasy Star 4.
I had the Sega Genesis collection already on Xbox. I had several Xbox One, I suppose. I had several hours on it already, so happy to go back to it there.
And it sounds like Tom and Bob certainly have a history with this series in particular. Which one of you would like to maybe go into that a little bit more first before we get going with the whole game?
I mean, I've been playing them since they came out because I'm old as shit. My mom actually bought Phantasy Star for the Sega Master System and used to play it. I'll tell you right now, the game as a kid is fucking rough. It's rough as an adult. Like just figuring things out because it doesn't tell you. Like it's one of those games where like you can go and talk to somebody and it'll be like, well, say you go to the shopkeeper. I remember one of them had like, you can buy secrets from him. But the first time you click on it to buy it, he's like, no, I'm not going to fucking talk about that. So you got to leave. And you come back, leave, come back, leave, come back. Keep asking about it. Then finally he's like, you wear him down. Well, how the fuck are you even supposed to know this in 1986 or whenever fucking Phantasy Star 1 came out? But I remember the premise is really cool because the whole intro of, so you play as Alice, who is, you know, there's statues of her in this game. Your ship is named after Landale, Alice Landale. And her brother gets killed in the beginning. So, you know, spoilers for later. It's kind of opposite of what happens. Not really brother, but yeah. So, and he gives her like his little shitty short sword. He's like, avenge me. And then that's off and running. But yeah, I mean, that game, I don't even know if I beat it as a kid. Like I was saying earlier, we were making like little graph mazes. And at one point you turn a cat into a fucking flying beast to get to the final area on like, it's like a floating castle.
That sounds very cool.
Yeah. So there's 4 characters you can play as in the first one. It's Alice, Odin, Noah, or Lut. If you're anywhere that isn't US, he's Noah here, but everywhere else he's Lut. And then Meow, which I always called Maya, but yeah, it's Meow. It's Myauo or something. Yeah, I don't fucking. But that was my little brother's favorite character. I actually think he just got his passport cover. Actually has that on it now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but the first game was a little rough, but it was also my first experience with RPGs, which got the ball rolling.
Fun.
Phantasy Star 2, lot fucking cooler. Like normally you start off in the shitty town and you get to go to the super cool sleek cyber town. For this, you start off that way, and then as your characters die, you don't just bring them back to life. You got to go back to town, and they actually clone them. Like this super creepy lady clones them, and you can't save anywhere. You can only save at certain spots. But there's a thief character you can get in 2. That after you take her to like the main tower a bunch of times, she steals things. So you can do this to get her steal from shops. Like you go in and out and in and out. Like we would just do this for fucking hours, and she would just steal shit. And she's like, "Oh, where'd she go?" And then you got to go back to your house, and she's there. She's like, "Oh, I found this." But if you do this at the main area, she'll steal what's called it's a visiphone, and that allows you to fucking like save anywhere. And like if you didn't have a guide for this, like this is how the fuck would you figure that out? I think there's 8 playable characters in that one. They're all pretty cool. Rudo was my favorite, and I always called. Basically, she's like, was it Riku in this one? That's her name, right?
Yes,
Rika. Yeah,
Rika.
So I always called her Nei. I think it's more like Nay, but Bob knows who I'm talking about. I always called her Nei.
Bob's been nodding this whole time.
Yeah. So there is like everybody. Okay, so Ryan, have you played Final Fantasy VII?
Not in a long time.
Do you want me to spoil a spot for you?
We're talking about Phantasy Star 4.
Are you talking about the remake?
I'm trying to.
I know
Okay,
where he's
there's a
going with this. I know.
There's something that happens in Final Fantasy VII that like broke everybody. Okay, so anybody that plays Final Fantasy VII knows about halfway through the game what the fuck I'm talking about.
The famous twist.
Yes,
in 7. Yeah.
This happens in Phantasy Star 2 with
Years
like
before.
your secondary character that you are fucking using the entire time, and all of a sudden it's fucking. And what, I was probably 9 or 10 when this came out, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, you haven't seen this in a video game before. Like, and everybody's going to talk about the Final Fantasy VII of it, but I feel like this was it. And the fucked
Tom
up
has
thing.
a strong connection to Phantasy Star.
Yeah, so the fucked up thing about this is now if you after this happens, you go back to the cloning section, the lady's just like, no, I can't do that. Like, she's not even like human. I can't bring that back to life. And it's just like, I don't have this character anymore. The fuck. 3 I didn't play right away. I wanted to. 3 was a really hard copy to find. And it's really weird because you make babies.
Interesting.
And then Fantasy Star 4 we're playing now.
Yeah.
And we also used to draw all of the characters from this. I remember drawing Wolf from 2 and Rudo and Lutz and from 1. Like I remember just drawing all these characters. So we'd have the little guides and everything and just drawing them. And the fucked up thing is like the cover art on these games, especially Phantasy Star 2, looks nothing like the game. Like Wolf's like a super old man and there's like a super creepy mushroom monster behind him, which there are like weird mushroom like head rot things in it, but they don't look like this. But yeah, good games.
Bob, you were nodding along that whole time. Anything to add for your history for Phantasy Star?
I mean, everything he said is correct. I have no points of argument.
And I got Phantasy Star Online immediately for the Dreamcast and was playing that shit at fucking 24.4 BPS, man. That shit was styling. So that's a different Phantasy Star.
A total different realm. I think I started with 4, if memory serves, and then I went back and played and beat 1 and 2. 3 is the weird one. 3 is the one I've still never beat. It's a little bit of a blind spot for me, but it's also a blind spot for the rest of the planet, so I'm not too concerned about it. Like
the concepts they were trying to throw in would be really cool. Like if they could do it now. That's just it. I'm like, I want a new Phantasy Star game that's like, I think Rob actually asked this question in like, or somebody asked something about the mechanics. Like if they redid this, like if they did a Phantasy Star game that played like Final Fantasy 7, like the combat, it'd sell fucking gangbusters.
Yeah. That's the thing about the Phantasy Star series. I think in a lot of ways they are super ahead of their time. Like
totally. I mean,
like,
just from playing this one, that's what I noticed. I was like, wow, there are some things in here that I haven't seen in any RPG that I played, and I would love to have this kind of mechanic right now.
Yeah. Like for a 16-bit RPG, it's truly impressive. And all the things he was saying about Phantasy Star 2, like having the thief, being able to clone people, like even Phantasy Star 1 has like a permadeath for one of those 4 characters. There are only 4 characters in the entire game. You know, you have the muscle, the mage, the knight, and a cat. And at one point you go into a shop and there's a robot who makes some mention about how they hate cats, and they ask, hand me the cat. And if you say yes, he kills the cat in front of you via text, and that cat is permadead. Like,
wow.
That's a party member down the rest of the game. And this is Master System. This is like NES era. Give me an RPG that has that kind of stakes and consequences that early. I don't know if it exists. And like Phantasy Star 3, for as much as it is weird, it is a weird tangent kind of for the series. Like the whole gimmick of it is that it's generational. Like literally you play as a guy who's on his wedding day and the bride gets taken away, and then you play through this adventure, this fantasy adventure, and then after about a third of the game, it's like, okay, which of these 2 people would you like to marry? And then whichever you do, the game kind of cuts. It shows those 2 people getting married. Then you play as their child. And depending on who you marry,
that's kind of awesome.
The look of them is different. Their abilities are different. Their stats are different. The ending you get at the end are different. Then that character goes through their quest, and then at the end of that third, they go, who would you like to marry? Mm-hmm. And depending on who you do, that person has a different look, and that person has it.
Awesome.
So you get, I think, 8 endings or something in that game.
So,
Which one is this? Is this 3?
3.
This is 3.
I'm gonna fucking play that.
But like, it was really hard to find copies of this game. Like when it came out, like there were not a lot of copies of this. It was not easy to find, and it being like, people did not like this game. Like it did not do well at all, which did not help finding copies of the game. You can't fucking just go on the internet and download a fucking ROM like you can now. Like it's like, dude, what is this game? Like I just wanted to know what it was so bad, because like the whole premise I was super stoked for. It was just like you could never find it when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I'm a huge Dragon Quest fan, and Dragon Quest V does something kind of similar, but doesn't take it 3 stages. It's just like your kids are slightly different based on one of like 3 marriage choices, and I feel like that gets a lot of credit for that. But Phantasy Star 3 came out 2.5 years before, and yeah, I feel like just in general in the lineage of like influential RPGs, people did not talk much about Phantasy Star, but they've done a lot of interesting things. I mean, like Rob also asked, I think, like, are there any mechanics you wish they still use today, or was that crypto? I don't know.
That's crypto. Yeah,
okay,
we
crypto.
can get on that question now since we're kind of in it. It's a two-parter. Are there any mechanics in Phantasy Star 4 that you are surprised to not see more commonplace in modern JRPGs?
Yep.
And vice versa. Are there any mechanics in modern JRPGs that you would make Phantasy Star 4 a more enjoyable experience if they were incorporated here?
Yeah,
The whole macro system.
Macros
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah,
why is
the
that not in
macros,
every turn-based RPG? That's great.
Yeah.
Because like
So-
every turn-based RPG nowadays has where you can just like push a button to make all your guys attack, but they don't have like those pre-setups. It's kind of like the Gambit system in Final Fantasy 12 almost, except that controls the AI. It's like you have to use that basically. But yeah, I wish more games did that. Like if I had that in Chris Tales, I would have used it in Chris Tales.
Yeah, the macros ended up being something that I at first, for like the first half of this playthrough, I didn't really touch, and then when I started investing time into them and making different ones for different characters and stuff, it was one of those things I relied on. I was like, oh, I get through this fight super quick. Do this, do this, do this. I'm done. That's it. Instead of going through individually selecting every single person's attack or skill that I want to use or defend, I was just like, boom, had this preset because I knew it's like, this is how I want to start off this fight and this is how I want to finish it. And having that combination, felt so good. Felt so good.
Yeah, it's a very good mechanic. Certainly. And I think also the auto walk around corners. I'm not the only one to have noticed this, right? The ability for me to not have to constantly bounce back and forth between up and right on my D-pad. The game just auto walks you around a jagged corner.
I think I
How
noticed
is that not in more games?
Yeah, because it's super handy in tight quarters where it's like if you're in a house and you try to walk up on the corner of like a dresser or something, it's gonna be like, you can't, sorry, and it autos you to the right and up, and it's beautiful. It's such a subtle touch that shows that like they really put their time into this.
It's occasionally annoying when I want to like read a statue. If I see a statue and I walk up to it and they're like, oh no, I walked around it.
Yeah, that happened to me a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the things I don't like is that you can hit the button to inspect something when there is nothing, and it's just like, what are you doing? There's nothing fucking here, you moron.
Yeah, and they're so fucking stupid every time. Like, hey, there's nothing over here. What are you doing?
Also, I forgot to tell you the best part about Phantasy Star 1 is the way you heal yourself is with cola and burgers. There's no monomate, trimate, dimate. It's cola and burgers.
And as far as more modern mechanics incorporated here, would just be a lot of more modern RPGs explain spells a little bit better, even in combat.
Yeah.
And as someone who's not used to Phantasy Star language, what the fuck's a Garez? What?
Yeah, so what I did
You don't know your reses from your SARS? Come on, man.
I had the original manual like popped.
Well,
up
see, yeah, that's
on
the
my
other thing is
laptop the entire time. So
it all used to be in the manuals.
I would just read the manual and see what the different battle techniques were and the different skills so I could get familiar with them as I use them.
Yeah.
'Cause otherwise it's like,
I was like,
Chaz starts with
I don't know.
Earth. It's like, I don't know, man. He puts his sword in the ground. What does that
Nothing
do? But yeah, if you have the instructions or you look it up, obviously, it makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, I have a guide open at all times for techniques and skills to read what they do, because even once I like use them a few times, I'll still like not need it for a little while and be like, I don't remember which one raised attack. Was that SAR? Was that shift? Was that D-band?
No, SAR heals everybody. Come on.
Yeah, obviously shift raises attack power.
Obviously.
All you need to know is Foai, all right? Once you get into Foai,
Yeah. Efoy.
All right.
Love it.
Chris, Tyler, what's your history like with Phantasy Star?
None.
I have none.
I have
played Phantasy Star Online, and that's it.
Yeah, I have Phantasy Star Online 2 downloaded, and I've not played it, and that's my history with it. I downloaded one once.
I lied. One time, I got really high, and I played Phantasy Star 2 on like one of those like old Sega, piece of shit things that you get at like
Oh, like the ones you just plug into your TV. It's just like the controller or something.
yeah,
or like a little box.
So I had one of those, and I played Phantasy Star 2 for like an hour, and then I wasn't high anymore, and I was like, I'm good.
Also, I think 2 was the first like true sci-fi RPG, like actually in a sci-fi
as soon as you said that,
area.
you're like, oh, you start off in like this crazy town. I was like, I remember that. I did that. And then
It's got all like the weird domes all over the place and like a fucking giant
playing.
treadmill.
Yeah.
And I've played a handful of hours of Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. That's it. I've never dabbled with anything else in the series. I'm really enjoying my time with this first chunk so far. It sounds like we all are, if played or not played.
This game rules. This game is fantastic. It holds up.
See, aren't you glad that I'm old?
Yeah,
Have these-
thank you for being an old man. This game is super cool. It's fantastic.
All right, so let's get into talking about some characters and moving in through the story. I've broken it up into a few chunks to kind of just talk about. So our first area feels like from meeting our first two heroes, we've got Chaz and Alice, Alys, up until we save where is it? Zima. That's the town, right?
Just
Yes,
like the
Zima.
drink.
Yes, just like a drink from a particular infection with some Alschline. So I mean, there's a lot here. Like we're sent out to a school to investigate some monsters.
Yep.
Yeah, are you guys a fan of Chaz here? I think I just dislike him from the get-go because his name is stupid. I've never met a person named Chaz that was not
Dude,
a
get
moron.
used to it, man. If there's one thing that Phantasy Star has, it's stupidly named characters. Like I remember Hugh in Phantasy Star 2. The main guy's name is Wolf. I mean, you could change all the names in 2, though, I think.
Wolf is a pretty badass name. And
Yeah, except for Nia, or Nay, whatever.
I mean, every character has a decent name, but Chaz, I really hate reading that one. And I'm like, oh,
Oh, yeah, you're right. Grizz
Chaz
is much better.
That's a good name, Grizz. Come on.
Rune, yeah.
That's a
Really
fine name.
Fucking knocked it out of the
Chaz.
park on that one.
Hey, they had 4 characters to work with. They had to
like
do
literally,
something.
like
I don't know. I kind of like Chaz. He's 16, right? Like he's still finding his way in the world, but
And the more you find out about him, like
yeah, he was a
interesting
troublemaker,
character.
but then Alice took him in. He became
And
part
that
of
was
the
the
Hunters.
exact opposite of what I thought of him. I was like, oh, this is a prissy little kid. And then no, it turns out he was a little shithead.
Yeah. Well,
know?
see, here's the thing: is I think I started to come around on him like around when Alice is dying, and he's like talking about his past, and he's like,
What?
"Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Oh god. And then like he goes off with Ruin, and he's just like a little shit with Ruin. Every time Ruin says anything, he's like, "No, I'm in charge." It's just he's just
16
nonsense to me.
Yeah, but Ruin also Ruin talks down to him a lot. He's like,
Oh yeah.
you're like,
The second that Rune steps up, it's just fucking. All right, you're a dumb shit.
And he's like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Yes, I am.
That's what I like about this game. I don't think you're supposed to really like Chaz at the beginning. I think he's supposed to be like, like Alice is the one that's to look up to. She's the veteran.
So you're like, this
She's
is the
the one
main
that-
character.
Yeah, that everyone is talking good about. Everyone is like, oh, Hunter's Guild. Yeah, Alice. Everyone knows her. So like Chaz is this kid who's just like, come on, I'm good. Look, I could swing a sword, right? So like, yeah, Rune talks down to him. Alice talks down to him. Like he goes through this progression of this tragedy of losing Alice, and then further in other parts of the game that
what's funny about that is as you move along, like in the beginning of the game, because Alice can hit everybody, she's just fucking dominating. Then as you get further, like Chaz starts doing way more damage, and her fucking slashers aren't doing shit.
I noticed that too.
Like all of a sudden she's only doing like 20, 30, and he's hitting fucking 60. Granted, she's hitting everyone, but it's not doing a lot.
Yeah.
Did you equip her
and it
with
makes those
2
moments.
boomerangs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But it makes that moment where, I mean, to jump ahead to Alice's death, it makes that moment so much more impactful because it's like, oh, here's this little shit that like he was just kind of like trailing behind the whole time. He was just always following. He's like Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow, he's just always trailing behind. And then you go and you lose this character who is like, we are thought to think of as the forefront of this game, and then now we're just stuck with this little shithead. And then like he takes on the responsibility, and to see that change in him, and to see him take on the responsibility and to go and do all this stuff and get these people together to go and take on this task that he's been given, is, I thought it was really cool. It's a lot of character development that I was not expecting at all. So I thought it was cool by the end of the session.
Yeah. Even right at the beginning, the first boss in the basement of the university, even Alice makes mention like your swing is too slow when he's using the sword, the knives, I suppose, at that point. And then you fight the exact same monster in Birth Valley a little bit later, and Chaz even makes mention of like, how is my swing now? When he is the most powerful member of your party at that point. Maybe Grizz, arguably, depending on how if you grind a little bit. But like, I love that is a in-game progression. Like by that point, he has crosscut. He has these moves that you really do rely on in boss battles. So facing the exact same monster as before and being like, oh, Alice isn't the tank anymore. Like she's on par with me now. I love that. That's like in-game storytelling. They don't have to bash you over the head with that. That's like gameplay. That I think that's so clever.
Yeah, no, it is good stuff. I love all of the writing in this game. I love the cutscenes they present to us in this game. I was amazed that a game like this had something I would just straight up call a cutscene, and really enjoy it. I love coming back up after we defeat that monster the first time. Is the principal's like trying to hide information he knows from Alice. She has a line, someone keeping information from me is the 6th most dangerous thing in this world. I died laughing. I was like, that is such a specific line to have. And the principal's just like, oh, and tells her everything.
Yeah, the writing in this game is surprising. I wasn't expecting to actually laugh out loud, but there are some characters, especially, oh God, what's his name?
Raja. Grandpa. No,
Raja.
Oh yeah,
dude, is so funny. I was like, as soon as he was introduced and you start talking to him, I was cracking up laughing, and I was not expecting that. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of good writing. There's also like some areas where it just feels like a weird translation. Like I think it's maybe when your spaceship is crashing or something, everyone just keeps screaming like, you too, and I didn't really understand what the hell they were even referencing. It didn't make any sense at all, which
I don't know. Everybody was super excited. Like Demi was like, yeah, we're fucking crashing.
Yeah, it was weird. There's some weird translation, but there is as much
the
like,
only one that was freaked
lines.
out. Like everybody else was like,
that's
oh,
true.
Man.
Yeah.
Something I did want to mention relatively early though, Phantasy Star as a series 1 through 4. I heard this in a YouTube video, and I wish I should have written down the person who said it because I'm stealing the line verbatim. But their translations are consistently inconsistent from game to game to game. Like the names of the planets change ever so slightly game to game. The names of protagonists sometimes change between game to game. Like the fact that you're playing as Alice with a Y and the main character of Phantasy Star 1 is Alice with an I. Like that's a cool connection, but it's a translation error technically. So it's like it is this extra layer of depth in the English version, I guess, or metaphor, I suppose you want to call it. But like the first character, like this version of Alice with a Y isn't named Alice anywhere other than America. So it's like a lot of stuff is lost there. And I even looked it up because in that first town, there's a statue, and I wrote it down. It's a statue of Dr. Lubitz, the god of learning from 2,000 years ago. And I was like, well, clearly if they're saying 2,000 years ago, this is relating to a previous game, because every game takes place like 1,000 years prior. But that's a mistranslation of another character from Phantasy Star 1. Dr. Oh boy.
The one that gives you the hovercraft and shit, right?
Exactly. I think it's like Dr. Lowitz or something. And then they completely change it to Lubitz in this game. I could probably find the exact thing, but it's like this comes up a lot, and it will continue to come up even in this chunk of like things that should be more impactful or shouldn't be more impactful, but are slightly changed because of these translation issues.
So that back to what I was saying about Noah, how he's Noah in Phantasy Star 1. So he's Noah in Phantasy Star 1 in US. He's Lutz otherwise. Phantasy Star 2, you meet him because he cryogenically freezes himself and he comes out as Lutz. He's not Noah. I'm like, that's fucking Noah. Why are they calling him Lutz?
Yeah,
What
he
the fuck
looks
is going
like
on?
Noah. He talks
I'm
like
like
Noah.
10. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
He's clearly a wizard, but that
Yeah.
name connection isn't there, so it loses that punch, you know? Yeah.
And so in this one, you fight Dark Force. Well, the bad guy at the end of Phantasy Star 1 is Dark Falls. Looks exactly the fucking same.
Didn't get translated right.
Oh my god.
But his name is Dark Falz. Falls.
That's a better name, because I definitely have a note in here like, really your evil god's name is Dark Force. Okay.
Hey, straightforward. He's to the point.
I'm sure it sounds cooler in Japanese.
So Tom, having played these games in order mostly, right? You played them all in order.
-3, but
Was it like a surprise when you came across Dark Force and it was actually Dark Falls, or did you expect it to actually be a new enemy and they're like, oh, it's the same freaking guy?
it looked the same. Like as soon as I saw his face, I knew like, okay, well.
Yeah, but they talk about him for a while before that, right? Or were you just, you're just kidding, you don't care if it's connected or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I was 12 at this point, so.
Okay, that's
I
right.
made the connection when I saw them, but
Fun.
Yeah, but in this first area that you're talking about, Ryan, there's a guy downstairs who like tells you about all the world's problems. He's telling you about how the planet is dying, there's a low birth rate, the soil's all bad, and Alice just says this guy is too depressing. Let's get out of here. That's all she has to say about that. She doesn't give a shit, which is great. I love that line.
Phantasy Star doesn't shy away from depressing endings. I don't want to like spoil too much in Phantasy Star 2, but I think the ending of it plays in a major way in this game, so it's kind of impossible not to.
Oh, interesting.
Like the during Phantasy Star 2, the planet of Parma or Palm, I guess, from Phantasy Star 1, where the whole game takes place more or less, is destroyed. So it's a 3-planet system. The main chunk of 1 takes place on Palma, whatever you want to. Again, it gets translated different every game, so take your choice. And then in Phantasy Star 2, you start on Motavia, where you start on in Phantasy Star 4, and it's this lush, wonderful, thriving scientific planet. And then through the process of it, they wreck the planet's ecosystem by destroying the computer that's in charge of it.
Mother Brain,
which is like the more or less the final boss in 2. So that's why in 4 it's just like a desert planet, because all that greenery and technology is wiped out basically, and Parma is destroyed completely, leaving only 2 planets left. Like the people in 2 mess up a lot of things and all die at the end. They're all murdered by Earthlings. It's very strange. So like, yeah, and even 3 ends in a kind of a depressing way also, which comes into play in a slightly later chunk of this game, because 3 doesn't take place on any of the planets. 3 takes place in spoiler, I guess. 3 takes place on a jettisoned spaceship from Parma. So they send these evacuation ships out, and they're living there, and you don't find out that you're on a spaceship that's designed to look like a planet until like a third of the chunk way through the game, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's about a third. Yeah,
that's about as far as I got into it, honestly. So I never finished it, so I don't know beyond that. But yeah, like you don't take place on any of those planets, and then you discover one of those crashed ships a little bit later in the game. That's the one where you can like you go in and you're fighting robots, and it's just a crashed crater on the ground. Yeah, that could be conceivably the ship from 3. Like the ending of that game might have just been, they eventually just crash. Like they never say outright that maybe they're still alive somewhere in space, maybe they aren't, maybe the wreckage you're walking through is the wreckage of everything that happened from 3. Like this whole series, it does not shy away from like super depressing endings. So I love that they embrace that whole cloth.
That's awesome. There's a guy in this like facility that we're in that talks about something with Mother Brain. I was like, this has to be some lore stuff that I'm supposed to know and I don't understand because this is way too much weird mumbo jumbo for this. And then they also talk about the 2 ships from Parma, right? I
Yeah,
think they go
there's
into lore at some point.
books on a bunch of bookshelves that talk about a whole mess of stuff from like previous games.
Yeah.
If you get all the way down to the bottom of that wreckage, they talk about tens or maybe even hundreds of ships from Parma.
Yes, that's
that
where
made
it was.
off. Yeah.
Yeah,
which I think is super cool now that I know all the connective tissue behind it.
Yeah, that is super cool. Now, I thought that was just like, world building for this game because I did not know coming into this. I did not know until now that these games are intricately connected like this. I thought it was like a Final Fantasy Dragon Quest kind of thing where they're all their own standalone business. That's cool.
Yeah, I would agree. Well,
Fucking
after
Sega.
Sega does.
What Nintendo?
After we, that's right, finish off with the school in Piata, at least in this translation, we're told to head to Birth Valley. We get another party member, Han. His mentor is out in Birth Valley, so we've got to head up there to try and save his mentor. This is when we get to Zima and find a bunch of people who have been Gorgonized.
That's right.
Good word.
Speaking of that, you do actually fight Medusa in the first one. Odin's main quest is to kill Medusa. You actually have to get a mirror shield to do this, and to get what the hell are they called? Lakon weapons. I think it's the Lakon axe or something like that. Yeah, you actually do fight Medusa in the first one.
Interesting. So it's not so out of place for someone to be turned into stone in the Phantasy Star, because I'm like, this
Because
seems
Odin
like a
is
very
when you
specific
find Odin, he actually is stone.
Yeah, I think isn't that where
Meow has
Alshline
the
originally
necklace.
comes from?
Yeah.
Yeah, is from Phantasy Star 1. So it's another. This is going to be the whole episode, guys. It's us telling you things that you didn't understand because it's connected to like 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, I feel like I just went to watch Infinity War and I didn't watch any MCU movies.
This Thanos guy seems
This
like
is
a
why
bad
they
guy.
need to remake Phantasy Star.
Yeah. Oh, I'll get into that at the end because they kind of did, but then they stopped themselves short. But that's a whole.
Well, I'm
other
glad
thing.
we have you two here then to
Fucking Sega.
connect all of this. Birth Valley sitting at the back end of Zima. We find Han's mentor there. Also turned to stone. Surprise, surprise.
Shocker.
Yeah, big shocker. Then we've got to go find some Alshline. Now, I went to the Motavian village to the south where they the Motavians always have Alshline. There's a Motavian village to the south. We'll go there. I happened to go there before I went into Birth Valley. And there are people there. They're like, we don't allow non-Motavians into this town.
Yeah,
So I was like, why are we going to go there?
Grizz's race, yeah, who
Yes.
like guard you from going in, which is very clever too, because when you go there later in the game and it's like destroyed, but only destroyed past a certain point. So clearly they only designed the village one way to be like fence, regular town, destruction, but the destruction is just out of view. So if you go there and sequence break, they're like, no, everything's fine in this town. You just can't go in right now, because it just saves them space. They don't have to redesign a whole destroyed town. Very smart on the designer's hands there.
Yeah, I thought that was good stuff.
But that also goes back to 1 in the way that you have to talk to people in 1 to make shit happen. Like if you miss one thing, you can't do something further on until you figure out how to go back and do it. Like even talking to an NPC opens up something. Like this obviously is on the main path, but you try to go there early, you can't do what you're supposed to.
That even happens when you're on Desolis in this game. If you don't talk to the barkeep at
Yeah.
Rion,
Yeah, you can't do Raj's stuff and you just wander around in fucking snow.
That was taking forever
get
for
the
me.
cave open inside of Tyler. Tyler, how's it feel having a cave inside of you, by the way?
Yeah.
What?
So actually, funny thing about that, Tyler is the name of a space pirate in Phantasy Star
I
2.
was wondering if you fuckers were gonna bring that up, because like when I saw my name pop up, I was like, god, here we go.
We'll play Phantasy Star 2 because you're a space pirate in that. So
Yeah, you save the group after
that
they
pirate
blow
real
up the
life?
planet.
that is what this town is named after.
That's
Oh, so
actually my new job is I'm a space pirate.
Wow. Does that have good benefits?
401k and everything. It's crazy.
Oh, brother, you gotta hook me up.
The dental is out of this world.
I mean, people in Tyler mentioned that like it's named after.
Tell me more about the people in Tyler.
Yeah.
How many
they
people have been inside Tyler?
There's at least like 13 living in there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like
Impressive.
an anatomy park in there right now. Crazy.
Just
They
some
talk about how
admirals.
there's like a bunch of towns named after the old ship captains. So I'm glad to hear that that is also connected to previous Phantasy Stars, and not just world building lore. But yeah, definitely when I first came into Tyler, I'm like, oh boy, I'm entering Tyler.
Whoa.
Was it just the first time you came into Tyler, or was it every time after that?
Whoa.
What kind of tantric Phantasy Star are you doing over there?
This is I feel some
my
fan
God,
fiction
this is
coming.
an X-rated podcast. All of a sudden. Ryan, you're not
Like
supposed to tell
all of
them
our
that.
podcasts aren't X-rated.
I
No,
now
I just
have the
have to show you
description for the
how-
podcast. Find out how many people have been inside Tyler.
Yeah, I'm
Just to show you
gonna
how
pull
way
that
too popular the name
clip.
Tyler
That's
was
amazing.
in the 90s.
Right
That's
down
all
that
that
time code.
I hate it here.
I can't read my notes.
I know the first time Ryan came inside Tyler.
I'm changing my name. Opening up the document now to change my name.
Make sure you tell your wife to listen to this episode because it's going to be much
Yeah,
better.
she'll enjoy that.
So we head down to find Mulcom destroyed. But Ruin's there, a lovely man who definitely wants to get more in touch with Alice and has immediate rivalry with Chaz.
Yeah,
And
clearly
he goes
like
on.
ex-boyfriend vibes, like
Mhm.
which I think are so funny. When Alice is just like, he's fine, don't worry about it, and Rune is like just kind of slyly smirking, and Chaz is like, no, explain it all. And they're like, just don't worry about it, we got to move on.
I always thought of Rune as like the big brother situation. It's like he was like picking on this new kid. It's like that's always the vibe he gave off at the very beginning. So I'm hoping that kind of continues and fosters a different relationship towards the end of the game, because I like that dynamic that they have with each other, being the youngest brother of four, and having that weird dynamic with my brothers and like them always talking shit to me. So it's like, I get it.
Yeah, I think it's a good relationship. There's a lot of good inter-character relationships here with a lot of party members. I was not expecting so
Yeah.
many party members to be moving in and out throughout the course of this game.
Yeah, I really like the pace of this game. I think it's the pace of a lot of old RPGs. Just I miss old RPG pacing, I guess, where they're just throwing you from town to town really quickly, giving you party members, taking them back out, giving you new ones. Very like Final Fantasy IV in that way, where there's a lot of party members, but you never have more than 4. I don't know if you do eventually in this game, but so far we haven't had more than 4.
Well, except for maybe 1 or 2, I think you have access to all of them towards the end.
I think one of the best parts about it though is like you get a party member taken away, but then you get another one that's like almost exactly the same, but enough different that it lets you like try different techniques and stuff in battle. And I think that's what's really smart about this game that you don't see a lot now is like, if you get a party member taken away, you never get somebody that's like brand new in a sense. It's like, they're just gone. But like this, it's like, oh, that person's out, but here's this person. They're kind of similar, but they're a little bit different too. So kind of fuck around and see what works best. And I love finding out how you can integrate them into your party and making their skills work better and like changing up the macros and stuff. I love it. I think it's so smart.
Yeah, the one thing that's annoying about switching out party members like that is the macros that you can't like just edit a part of the macros. You have to completely erase it and redo it, but it's not a big deal. It's a little nitpick.
Well,
I agree.
here's what I'll ask you, since kind of the battle and the combinations among them. Did you guys discover any of the combo attacks through this? This is another thing from this game that I adore, but you can kind of just not see it if you just so happen to.
If you don't know
I
about
haven't
them.
seen any of these.
Oh,
No? Okay.
I used a
No,
lot
I
of
don't know about
Tri-Blaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tri-Blaster is huge early on. Or in Firestorm is another one that's really big early on. I think it's just two people using Foy or not Foy, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for the second half, like I was looking up as little as possible other than what the names of the skills actually do, but I'll probably look up lists just to see more of them because the animations are cool too.
Yeah. So Ryan, since you didn't see any of them, long and short of it is like if two party members, they don't tell you what these are, but there are 14 throughout the game. It's just a combination of skills and techniques among your party members that combine for bigger attacks. So like if you have 3 members of your group using like a Foy or a Watt or I think Zan is the other,
Zan and Watt. I'm reading it right now. I have the guide up and it says Zan for Chaz and Rune's Watt creates a blizzard attack that affects everybody on the screen.
Yeah. So you get
Wish
a
I
really
would have
cool
known that.
animation.
I would have been blasting out.
Oh yeah.
says
You not only get a super cool animation, but you get a super powerful attack out of it that usually attacks everyone.
Yeah, it says it's 15 total combination attacks that you can find throughout the entire game.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Is that like is it like a chance to activate, or because Tri-Blaster didn't always activate, but I assumed there needs to be exactly 3 enemies for that, or was it like a percentage chance that it activates? Do you know?
I think you just have to do them in successions.
Yeah, they have to be able to go all 3 in a row. If one of them's interrupted by another attack, it's not going to do it.
Yeah.
So if it's like 2 people, then an enemy goes, and then the third person would use it. Doesn't happen. So sometimes it comes down to like speed of your party member, I suppose.
Interesting.
But, yeah,
that's why I always
there's
trainer.
There's some really cool ones that are. I remember Chaz having one specifically. I think because you have crosscut now, but you get another version of it. I think you get grand crosscut, and you can do a combo with that, and it fucking just like wrecks.
Him and Rune get a combo move later that is
once they become best friends.
I really wish I would have known that because I've been spamming that the whole time.
Hey guys, don't just Google PS4 combo. By the way, there's a lot of PS4s out on sale out there.
But what are they comboing with? And what games are they playing?
But yeah, no, there's a lot of fun ones. I remember as a kid finding out about these. I'm like, what? That's way cool. You can combine these, and yeah, I want to say one of the first ones I found out about is just like the Foai spells or something, like, you know, when you use a bunch of them. And then it started just like I started just using, because, you know, there's no fucking internet at this point. So I'm just like using all these different kind of fucking moves trying to figure out what happens.
Yeah, once you find it, it super encourages your brain to just be like, well, clearly I'm missing out on something. Like, let me just try random combinations and stuff.
I'm looking them up now, and they all look so cool. I cannot believe I missed out on these. Oh, they look so cool.
To be fair, you don't get a ton, you know, at the beginning.
No, there's a good amount, yeah.
There's a fair bit, and I want to say weird fun fact. I think there are either 15. But like the whatever the actual number is, the box that it came with, or maybe the instructions said like, oh, combination attacks, there are 1 more than there actually are. So
yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so
for years people were like searching for that secret one, and it just doesn't exist.
on this, it's showing 14, but on the guide, like there you go, whatever the manual for the game, it says 15.
That's
so
hilarious.
For literal years, people were like,
"That's so fucked up,
where's that 15th?
Oh, that sucks.
Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
That's amazing."
And you know, people spent hundreds of hours doing every combination of moves together to try to figure out what that 15th one was.
Oh yeah,
but they look super cool. I cannot believe I missed out on these. I'm definitely going to be having this up while I play through this last part.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to attempt to dabble with those a little bit because those sound awesome. So after we get Rune, we head north. Well, actually, we've got to head to another Motavian village that isn't destroyed. We have the option to stop at Krupp, which is Han's hometown. Yeah. I definitely did.
I love this.
I love Krupp.
It was great getting, like, the first person you talk to, they're like, "Oh, Han, hi, nice to see you back in town." And I just imagine Han like,
he didn't want to go. Like, he's like,
we don't have to go there if you don't want to. It's like, I am 100% going there now that you said that.
Yeah. But
Awkward
there's not much
pause.
to do with Krupp other than
Edit that pause out, Tom. Jesus.
Nope.
Not happening.
other than like, you know, meet Han's
Fiance.
relatives and, you know, and yeah, that's, well, I actually didn't meet her the first time. I met her later on. We continue to head north. Rune opens a passage through the village. We get to,
But you also find out that they don't like his parents. Like, he didn't go into the family business. You're a fucking douchebag. We hate you, huh?
No, it's just his dad. Only his dad
Yeah.
is like super pissed off because I went and talked to his mom after that.
Well, some of the kids
she's like-
don't. Isn't there 3 kids and each? Or no, that's somewhere later where they're each side with somebody else and one's just like me.
Yeah, but the mom is like, I don't listen to your dad. He'll come around. Like, he was talking mad shit a second ago.
I don't think he's coming around.
No, he hates my guts.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a subtle, fun touch to Han's character. Because like, if you don't visit that shop, he's just like, he's the bookworm, you know.
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
once you go to that town, he's like, oh, his dad like really wanted him to take the family business of like the armory over,
Mhm.
and he just didn't. He just was like rebelling against that, and that's why he went so hard into books. It's like,
I just want to go and study.
yeah,
It's like,
Like,
okay,
go
He was
on,
just trying to
Kyle.
get inside Tyler. I mean, that's really what his goal was.
aren't we all?
Are you? Is that
that's
your goal?
later.
Yes.
Tyler?
To get inside Tyler.
Yes, I'm going to turn myself inside out. That's my goal.
there are some fun Easter eggs in that. I forget the fiance's name. Sarah? Is it Sarah?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Something with an S. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's Sarah. Yeah.
If you go into her classroom and read the bookshelves that are on the walls, there's little references to old or other Sega Genesis games at the time, and I wrote them down. There's one, A Day with Echo the Dolphin,
Oh, the Sonic the Hedgehog one's hilarious.
the one that just says "Run Hedgehog Run," Golden Axe Volume something or other. And then my favorite one is if you go past the classroom and actually go to her personal, like, what are those things called? Like the mirror and the makeup and all that kind of jazz.
Vanity.
Like a
The Vanity.
Yeah.
There's a book that's called How to Love and Be Loved, which is clearly like a sex book. And then Han is like, put that down. Yeah, it's really good. Really, again, just very, very subtle stuff that is very easy to miss.
Yeah, but I mean, the world building there is so fun, you know, and it's the fact that you can miss that. It's like, oh, that kind of sucks. Because I would be bummed if like we were talking about this and I had no idea what you were talking about. You know what I mean? If like you were saying, oh, this things that you could find. It's like, oh, I never found those. That would suck.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, because just like you were saying, like Krupp is an optional town. Like
Yeah.
Han tells you not to go there. Everyone else says we should go there. You have the choice.
Yeah,
Like,
and the only reason I went there is because he told me not to go, and I was like, "There's gonna be something. Come on!" Like, but
Yeah, that's like a written invitation to please stop here.
yeah, I was like, "Of course I'm gonna be nosy and figure out why you don't want me to go there."
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't know what it was, like while we're doing this recording, that'd be such a bummer to find out, like that I missed out on all that stuff. So it just lets you know that going forward, it's like you need to investigate everything if you really want to get like that good little bit of world building that they have, because like when you get it, it's so good. And I think the writing is really well done, like finding out the stuff about his dad and his mom and his fiance. I think it's great. I think it's really good stuff for a game that came out in 93, and that's what I'm comparing it to, is like what I played now versus 93, almost 30 years ago at this point. That's crazy.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff here. Definitely was blowing my mind that this game was as old as it is. So after our quick stop in Krupp, we head north to Tonoe, or Tono.
I always said to
Rune
know, but who
No.
knows?
Rune opens up a passage in the mountain. We go through. This is the other Motavian village. We get Grizz here. We also get a hilarious line where we're meeting the village elder.
This guy.
Oh,
rules.
the options. Yeah, the grandpa.
I did this on the first try, just by happenstance. I did not realize that was like a fail state almost.
And this happens a couple times. Like you meet someone and they're like, "Do you want to hear about this thing? Do you want to hear about this thing?" And one of the things is like the way to move forward, and other things are just other things to hear about. And the one here is like, "Do you want to hear all about the brave hunter Alice?" I don't remember her last name, but he has it. And he's like, great,
Grinding.
her measurements are 36, 24, and then Alice steps out and punches him in the side of the head.
Decks this old Motavian.
I believe she
man.
asks him, "Do you just go around telling all kinds of strangers my
He
measurements?"
doesn't, yeah, because he doesn't know it's her like right away. He's like, "Oh
Yeah.
God, no,
Yeah,
it's
you tell
Alice."
everybody that.
I had her
Yes.
leading my party at that point, so that man must be blind as a bat.
Yeah, same. I also had her leading.
Also, I do have to say, it'll come up again, but Tono, or however the name is pronounced, the music in this town is so fun, where it sounds like dogs barking almost is the chorus. I think this game has unbelievable music, and this is one that really stands out as this doesn't sound like anything else in this game, and it rules. It really sets a tone for like how fun that grandfather is, and it's so good.
Yeah, I
love
mean,
the
just
music.
speaking on the music, like as soon as I heard like when you go into like the crash starships and stuff like that, like
That's what I was gonna
as they start hitting, I'm like, they just brought me straight back. I'm like, I'm just a little kid again. I'm like, I can hear the loops just keep going in my head because I used to play these games like nonstop. Like when I play Phantasy Star 2, we found if you did start A as you're walking, like pausing, and you would have a less chance of being encountered. So we would literally be like moving through things like super slow because we'd just be pausing it, unpause, pause, unpause, move a little bit, pause, unpause. But yeah, just the music. It's just like bam. It's like I went and looked for lo-fi Phantasy Star 4 beats, but I couldn't find any.
You got to make them
Just listen to
yourself, Tom.
Sounds like a business venture.
Yeah, but anytime that you're in any kind of like sci-fi area where you're not in like the open world itself, but in like the crashed areas or like the laboratories or facilities, I mean, the music there is so good, and it definitely like hits on that sci-fi note. A lot of heavy like synth kind of sound to it, and it's great.
Well, and that's just
they
it
do
too.
a good
Like
job.
this sci-fi area that Phantasy Star built, like that paved the way for like Xenogears and like Star Ocean, like that, like truly like that went full sci-fi with their RPGs. Like there wasn't any sci-fi RPGs; it was all the fantasy. You know, dragons
then
and
the game
shit. I
called
mean, there's
Fantasy
dragons in
Star
Fantasy
gets
Star
that
too,
far.
but yeah.
This is a tangent. This has nothing to do with this game. Has anybody played Cosmic Star Heroine?
I've never even
I have
heard of
it,
this.
but I've not played it.
I know, Chris. I think we talked about this already. I want to fucking play that game after playing this because it's like, oh, like a futuristic sci-fi RPG, really good. Didn't realize how good it was. Like this high fantasy stuff, like we've seen it 1,000 times, but you don't see a lot of like heavy sci-fi RPGs like this at all.
Yeah,
So-
and that game's marketing at least said it was highly inspired by Chrono Trigger in terms of battle system and stuff.
Yeah, which is a great battle system. That battle system rules. So, anyways, proceed.
First ATB, right? Chrono Trigger, active time or
yeah.
battle, whatever.
Maybe.
If not the first, one of the biggest.
Pretty sure it was the first.
ones. Yeah.
Anyway, Fantasy Star 4.
Yeah, so the
Let's get back inside,
grandfather,
Tyler.
now with a headache, tells us that we can get some Alschlein from their town stores. Grizz is there. He wants to join us in our fight against Zio, which I guess we haven't said that name up until this point in the podcast, which feels a little weird, or not in this context anyway. He's been like the appointed to big bad. The name's come up before. He's the man that destroyed the last Motavian town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his shoulder pads and Rika's shoulder pads, let me tell you everything I sketched as a kid, they had those shoulders. One or the other. Because fucking Zio shoulder pads are fucking awesome. Especially with the cape just coming out of it. It was very Ashram from Record of Lotus War is what I always went to with that.
Right there.
Yeah. So good. Such
But
a
yeah.
good character. Such a cool villain character. Oh gosh. He rules. And
So cool.
another
That was a-
person with a great theme song. Like as soon as they mention Zio at the beginning of the academy, and I think it comes back once you find Professor, what's his name, turn to stone, like that super ominous, dark, slow music for Zio is fantastic.
Yep. And it definitely like hits home that you're not supposed to like this guy.
He's a bad guy.
Coward.
Make that
I
very
was
clear.
surprised at how quickly he was off the board. I was
Yeah.
expecting him to be a part of it for a while. So knowing that he wasn't like the big bad, I was like, oh, what's going to happen next?
And I mean, even Dark Force, his boss, I guess you would say, we have now already beaten, and we're at the halfway point. So
Yeah, that felt early.
Have you really though?
we beat him once.
I mean,
Good enough.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
As far as we know,
okay.
he's gone forever.
That's how JRPG bosses
Yeah,
work.
sure. He won't come back.
I thought we beat him for good, so I'm glad to know that we didn't. That's great. Love
But
that.
this is another thing. Phantasy Star 4, always changing up your expectations of it. Right when you think you're in a pure fantasy world at the beginning, they introduce all these robotics and space travel and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You think Alice is the main protagonist. Sorry, Ryan, I don't want to jump ahead, but she's not.
Well, I think we've jumped ahead a whole bunch. So
you think Zio is the main antagonist, whatever, the main villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got the antagonist. You got it.
Yeah, the main antagonist, and yeah, you kill him off not too long into the game.
Yeah, within the first
No.
third of the game. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I was
Yeah.
shocked. I'm posting a picture right now into the Phantasy Star 4 guest channel. This is who Zio made me think of the entire time. Every time that he popped up, this is from Yu Yu Hakusho. This is one of the villains in Yu Yu Hakusho. And every time Zio would pop up, I would just think of this man's face because it's very similar, except he's in a suit. And I could not see him.
here, I'll show you
as the main
the
villain.
one that I'm talking about. Keep talking. It'll take me a while to get it.
So after we get the Alschline, we head back to Birth Valley, save everyone in Zima and Birth Valley from their organization. And this is when the sci-fi kicks in. I definitely have a note of like, holy shit, Biolab, this environment change, this music change. I did not see this coming. This is awesome.
Yep.
Like, I was not expecting any kind of sci-fi from a game called Phantasy Star. Like this, it came very far out of left field for me, and I love it so much.
This was the
Fantasy with
moment
a
that like I
PH.
really started to get interested in what was coming next. It was like, oh, okay, we're in this weird cave, and it's like, oh, actually, there's a lab hidden underneath here. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
let me see
All
what this biodome is all about. Like,
And this is where we meet Rika, right? This is the time. We learn that there are android people, and everything is more complicated than we once thought.
she's
Oh,
a
yeah.
clone.
Yeah, she's a clone of just as Tom said earlier, Nay, or however.
I
that's
like Nei.
pronounced.
It's more fun to say Nei.
I've always said I'll go with Nei. I'll go with you. Yeah, she's a clone of Nei from Phantasy Star 2. Like, looks basically the same, uses the claws, like dead on, is just a clone of her. So it has this, again, really super impactful moment where it's like the first time you see her in battle and she fights exactly like Nei does in Phantasy Star 2 and looks like and is the same race as when you go to the status screen. Like it means a little bit more, if you have that added connection. Otherwise, she's just a fun level 1 who really levels up well.
Yeah.
Oh man, that happened quick. That was crazy. I was like, oh shit, level 1. This is gonna take forever. Nope.
Blinked level 10. All right, there we go.
And it turns out she's incredible. That double slash, so much use.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So good.
and so going back like to Phantasy Star 2, like Nei, you actually had 2 weapons. She had 2 claws. Like she could wreck the fuck out of shit because she got to attack twice, one for each claw. But she was the only one that could do that. So
Yeah.
again,
So just about every other main character
powerhouse.
had just double-handed weapons, so only
Yep.
gets to hit once. Yeah.
And
also I
her-
put the picture in the guest thing now.
well, and her equipment just sounds super cool. Like later on, like plasma claw. Okay, cool. That's amazing.
Laser claw.
Give me a plasma claw, please.
Also, what I really like is like I like how they set up the battle scenes in this. How it's like behind the characters, and then they do the little animation, and then with every animation, depending on what weapon you have, the effect is different. Like
Yeah.
if you have the plasma, the laser, it's always a different effect when they hit.
I feel
Yeah,
really
little
stupid for
particle
not
effect.
bringing this up earlier either, but the combat, like the sprite work that they have for the enemies, is really fucking good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
really
very
good. Some of the
varied.
enemy designs are fucking awesome. Super awesome.
the sprites in this, I could talk for days about how cool the sprites in this game are, from the heroes to the villains to the backgrounds to like the little subtle touches where like if you the enemies will have like their animation cycle, but if you paralyze them or like super slow them down, their animation changes, so only part of them will move around. Like, I think that's so, it doesn't just stop the animation. Like, they distinctly have two different animation cycles, one for like paralyzed enemies and one for regular enemies. What 16-bit RPG is doing that? It's so cool.
I'm trying to find the name of the enemy type that I thought was super cool. It's the one that looks like a praying mantis.
Oh, locust.
The locust. Yeah, the locust.
Is that what it's called? The locust? Yeah, that thing looks so cool.
Locusta.
It's a Locusta. Locusta? L-U-L-O-C.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. I love the way it looks. The design is so cool. Like when it's on the screen, I love it every time it pops up.
So after we save Zima, we're now tasked with directly trying to track down Zio and his fort. The bridge to the north is open. We can go around to get through the other side of the desert. This is where we can find the wreckage of that ship, learn about the ships that all left Parmesan.
Did you go to the Hunters Guild? Did you go to the Hunters Guild and do the Hunters Guild stuff?
I didn't.
So there's side missions you can basically do.
Yeah.
Going back to the Hunters Guild, I think the first one you get is to go back to that town that's got the dude's got the worm farm.
Called Mile.
Yeah.
And you got to fight the giant worm.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a
Not
great
in the
boss
Land
fight.
Rover is a lot harder.
Yeah, I've tried fighting them not in the Land Rover, and I die.
Yeah,
well,
the one that's in Mile is not the same.
It's not that bad, but it's not easy.
Yeah, especially if you do
still
it
gotta try.
as soon as it's available. Like that was the thing I wrote in our Discord channel. Like something really cool happened. I'm really excited about it. Like just this is a common RPG thing, but just facing a big boss that you are clearly under level for, but beating it and getting just a shitload of levels, like sitting there for 5 minutes reading levels. It's always amazing.
Yeah.
That does sound fun. A question for Bob and Tom, since they know so much. Can I go back and do those now? Those missions don't disappear at any.
No.
Okay.
Only
Cool.
one of them does, the very last one, if you don't do it like until the very end of the game.
Okay.
But I think 9 out of 10 are whatever.
Yeah,
Did you
you
do
can
the
just do
second
whatever.
one? So I didn't get past the second one because I was like, I can't find this fucking dog. So
I looked it up.
The dog hops around from town to town, if I remember right. I don't remember. I think I
So
found him.
she's like,
in
he likes
Kuran.
sweets, and I was like, where?
You have to buy a
there's
specific
sweets?
item from a shop that's like hidden around a corner in that town too. Yeah, I
come
looked
on.
that up. God, I would never would
I
have done
should
that.
have done it.
So that
because
was another thing. Like
I
even
was
like
written everywhere.
town designs, like in Phantasy Star 2, I'm pretty sure we had the guide, but like there's like anywhere else you go like off, it immediately exits you out of the town. But there's some ways you can snake around. There's like hidden shops that you can get to, but you have to rock like on the perfect line right along the top and cut around the top. Like there's a hidden path to get to it.
So that's how this shop was with the.
Yeah,
The
it has like a 1 pixel outline
If you
around
don't
the town.
follow it, you go out of the town.
I went
Yeah.
all over that town. I was like, I'm gonna find this dog, and then I walked around, talked to everybody in the town. I was like, I'm not finding this dog.
Yeah, like that thing is
I'm good.
That's a very Phantasy Star thing of like putting something that you don't know that you're supposed to find this or where it is supposed to be, and you may stumble upon it and then not know what it is at that point, and then not find it again because you won't end up getting back to wherever that person was.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's one of those things that I actually kind of take for granted now is like it made me interact with the environment. It made me interact with the characters that they had created and to investigate and to live in this world and to like really live in that character and go around and try to do this. And I think a lot of us take that for granted now because like now it's like, this is your side quest. We'll put a marker on the map. You're good.
Yeah. I definitely had those moments. Oh god, a few times where I was like, "Oh right, this is an old school JRPG. I have to talk to people." I've got
Yeah, and then I found myself enjoying that interaction and like going through and is almost like its own separate investigation in a way and like doing. It's just such a different style of play that like I'm not used to anymore because I'm so used to everybody telling me where I need to go and having a mark. And so it was a nice change of pace.
Getting lost in a dungeon and fighting too many enemies.
I was enjoying it. I was like, oh man, this is because but like you're getting lost in the dungeon, but it's like then you get lost in the world and you get to just be in it. You know?
I love it in the dungeons. They'll put the paths and they'll put one that clearly just dead ends. Like you go and you're like, but there could be there could be a chest because they had something similar to it a little before, and you go that way, just a dead end, just baiting you to get attacked.
Yeah.
Or I love the dead ends with an already open chest.
Yeah, the open chest already.
Oh, that was so annoying.
Yeah, those are great.
It's fun.
No, I like that though, because we're not the first ones to explore this world. It's been around for 4,000 years.
Yeah,
Like, games don't do that. They don't like put, hey, well, here's a chest that somebody else probably opened already. Like it's all for you.
Yeah. Like even something as subtle as like if you go into someone's house and walk up to their
Yes.
drawers, he's like, I shouldn't be opening other people's drawers without their permission. Like, but when you go into homes that are like in the town with the Hunters Guild, I believe, you find Alice's house and you can go in there and he's like, oh yeah, it's my underwear. Just like really subtle, like
I forgot that was
like,
there.
You shouldn't be opening this. You shouldn't be opening this. And then he finds his own and he's like, oh yeah, what's inside? Oh yeah, I guess it's just my underwear. And then if you try to open Alice's, she threatens you. She's like,
Don't look at my skid marks.
Yeah.
No.
I wonder if she'd say anything now that she has moved on.
Chances are, if you go there, he won't open it. He'll be like, "No, we can't do that."
Yeah, I think he does have
to find out.
I'm fairly confident it's something like that, but it's either him or Rune interjects. I don't remember.
Well, I'll report next time when we reconvene for part 2.
You better. I'm writing this down.
Yep.
Top question on the note sheets. So we make our way through a bunch of northern territories, smaller towns, on our way to Zio's fort to attempt to stop Zio.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah.
There's a barrier right up front. I spent a lot of time exploring this goddamn fort, trying to find a switch to turn that barrier off. An absurd amount of time, like probably 4 hours.
Oh my god!
Jeez.
Wow.
Ryan, don't you know you need a psycho wand? Come on,
Yeah, come
man.
It's very clear.
Couldn't have seen that coming.
No, I just to backtrack 1 second, I do like the town right before the tower. Is that what you're
I
going
was
to
just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah, with the church and the Quaker,
It's
the guy just
cold.
laying on the ground, like Zio.
Kaderi, I think, or Kateri, or whatever. you want
Cattery, I definitely have them all written down. Yeah, Cattery.
Because
Kadary.
it's literally a town full of people who are like brainwashed by Zio.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think it does a great job of making you think he is the big bad, because it's like, oh man, like, yeah, I've heard stories about this guy as a bad guy, but like you're seeing firsthand all these people who are taken over by him. I think that's so cool to kind of to have people in the world talking good about the main villain up until that point is
Yeah.
very foreign from a lot of other JRPGs at the time.
And then coming back later and they're all like, what the fuck was I doing here? Why? What is happening?
Well, yeah, because you can talk to
There's
all
a whole
kinds of
side
people.
mission
Like,
for it.
there's like a dad that's like, my daughter's brainwashed, and like, there's people that clearly don't want to be part of it, but their children are being sucked into it. And I really need to find that animated. I need to get an emoji of that fucking guy that's just laying on the ground, just going like, Zio.
Oh, we need
Emote
that
on the
as a
server.
emote.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna try and find.
A really good foreshadow for that in the town, in the university town that you start in Piata, or however it's pronounced.
That's it.
You find someone in one of the dorms there who's like, yeah, the girl next door, like,
Yeah, she's been gone for a
disappeared.
long time.
Yeah, she's been gone for months at this point. And then you find her in the church in Kaderi or Kateri. And then after the whole Zio stuff, a Hunters Guild mission opens up. That's her parents, who are like, my daughter got obsessed in this cult. Like, you need to go find her. And yeah, long story short, you find her in the church, and I think you have to give her something, or maybe she just goes with you. I can't quite remember.
She like
where it
gets
finishes,
sick
but
and you have to give her some medicine. Do you remember
that's what it
specifically,
was.
Tom?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
like.
say you have to get her inside Tyler, but
I was waiting for it. I knew it.
I
I was sitting here. I was like, somebody's gonna say something. It's gonna happen.
yeah. I also,
Her, Tyler.
And you know why? Because I was gonna say it.
Use promo code Spelunkers on adamandeve.com.
yeah.
That would be our first sponsor.
Hey, you know what they say? We do go deep, Bob.
Exhaustive detail.
We have had more sexual innuendos on this episode than any episode that's ever aired, ever. Period.
Of anything.
Ever. Of anything.
Anything.
In the world.
That's Phantasy Star, baby.
Yep. Phantasy Star gets Ryan to come inside Tyler.
I fucking hate it.
They laid it out for me.
Oh, speaking of horniness, in the Hunters Guild town, you got the whole cabaret. I don't know if you guys went to that. You could find the girls dancing and the music changes, and
Oh yeah.
they give you a little fan show and their little pixel.
Isn't there? You can find
bikinis.
another girl that's in a bunny costume. It's like a waitress at some point too.
Yeah, Indian Inn, I think.
Yeah.
I think in the same room, she complains about like, oh, I can entertain you boys, and in the room you can find a Game Gear, and Chaz is like, this is all the entertainment I need.
Yep. I remember there being a Game Gear reference in this game.
But I think there's a guy in the inn too. He's like, I just come here for the show. Like, of course you do. you would.
The food's great.
Discount.
And then there's the two girls in the inn in the Hunters Guild town that can't pay, and they just keep staying longer and longer, and then they fucking try escaping out of the window. And I'm pretty sure it's a Hunters Guild quest later to get them out, but yeah,
good.
They get put in prison. You can go visit them in prison.
I'll tell you what, it's like super good world building for this. Like, I'll say it 1,000 times. This is an old ass game. It's got a lot of really good stuff in it. Like, the world is super fun.
It's got shocking. A world that's more interesting than I would say a handful of modern day RPGs.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
More interesting than Chris Tales, tell you that.
Well, since you brought it up, we've got a question from one Rob Hudak, great community member. Love Rob. Considering some of you are fans of traditional JRPGs, how well has this aged in your early playtime? Extremely well, my opinion.
Yeah.
As well as a game JRPG from this era could have. I mean, out of all of the Phantasy Stars, this one probably aged the best. But yeah, 2 is, I mean, all of them except for 1 probably aged decent. But this is the first one that has the macros in it, which I think is a big game changer. But all of them have had vehicles. Pretty much the same vehicles too. So there wasn't anything big and different because there's spaceships and shit in 1. You get the ice digger in 1. Wait, we didn't get the ice digger yet, did we?
Well, we got it. We haven't used it yet, though.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
There was a moment in this game that I was like, this is so good, where we haven't talked about it yet, but when you get Demi, and I was trying to heal with her, and I was like, why can't I heal with her?
You can't heal her.
Yeah, she's inorganic.
She's a robot.
And then you have to use her recovery move. And I was like, that's so fucking good. That's so incredible. I cannot believe that this is not something I haven't seen before. It's like, I can't heal this character because they're not human.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, you need a repair kit or recover.
Oh my God. I was like this. So
I know for a fact with Ren, who obviously we'll get to, I think with Demi also, I think both the robot android people, they heal 1 HP every step you take also.
Yep. Yeah, outside of battle, as you walk, you'll gain life.
And that's so fucking good. That's so good.
Yeah.
It's like, of course you can't heal them normally. They're not people, technically.
It's the subtle, you could tell they really paid a lot of care into this.
So it's in that
to
too.
Just be like, Monomate heals everyone. But
with the healing thing, like even the status effects, so you can walk around, and I like how if one guy's paralyzed, he doesn't walk; they're just like a statue, and just like
the sprite doesn't.
But
move,
it goes steps, like however long you walk, like they'll come out of the paralyzed. Same with the poison; it just flashes the red.
Yep.
But yeah, they'll come back out of it.
30 years old to have that like little bit of subtlety in it is so good. Like, and the fact that they have not made another one, crazy to me. Absolutely.
I think it ties back to something Tim Rogers talks about in his reviews a lot, and that's just internal consistency. You know, when a game is consistent with itself internally, it shows a lot, and that adds up to a better game experience. And the fact that this game is consistent with itself internally, even if it doesn't add up to our own world metrics, you know, the fact that it is consistent within its own world metrics adds up to a lot of good things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Rob's part 2. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, we're still on this question. Let's go with this question. I was moving forward.
So far, is this game better or worse than Chris Tales?
Much better.
It would be hard to be worse. But also, this game's very good.
Yeah. Bob, I don't know if you've played Chris Tales, but what do you think? Do you think?
Don't do it.
I have not, but I can say definitively it is better. I'm tinged with nostalgia bias, but this game rules. Like, and it holds up so well in the modern day. Like, even though I'm playing it on Genesis, I am not using that fast forward function. Like, I don't have to do it.
I'm using fast forward a lot.
I've dabbled.
I also use it quite a lot.
Keep that fast forward button held down, baby, the whole time.
Wow. Okay.
Use the rewind.
How's that music sound that fast? It's like EDM at that point.
I've had some weird glitches where it's like I'll be going super fast in between towns, and I'll like get like a weird glitch when I'm in the overworld, and when I go into a town where the music clips into each other.
I've actually had that without using the fast forward.
Okay, so
I looked it up. It's something with the Genesis collection. It's just like, it's not even the game. It's just like
it's
across
not
the
bad.
board.
And, like if you walk out and then walk back in, it usually resets itself. It's not a big deal. But I use the fast forward like when traveling the overworld because it takes forever. And I use it during combat because
you also use the cheat save too, don't you?
What cheat save?
The Genesis collection save, not the actual game save.
I use both.
Come on, man.
I use both.
I haven't needed to use it, but I do use it before every boss just in case. Especially because I'm capturing footage. Like, I don't want to capture footage of running all the way back to that boss.
I'm playing on the Genesis collection, so I'm going to utilize the things that were given to me to do. So
yeah,
I'm telling you, once you're done with this one, play Sword of Vermilion, which is also on the Genesis collection, which is a super fun game. And I actually named my first character Batman. For some reason, I thought it was hilarious the entire time I'm referring to me as Batman.
Do you guys like speaking of the fast forward, do you guys like the kind of VHS thing that it does?
I love it.
It's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's
just
nice
like it doesn't do it right away, but if you hold it down longer, it just starts just that weird vapor wave and tracking.
Yeah, I think it's nice because if you don't have that, then you can just literally fast forward all the time. Like, it literally is blocking out small chunks of your screen, so like you need to stop it and look at what you're doing.
Like text, it would just like blur like the bottom half of the text.
Yep. I just love the atmosphere that Genesis collection can give you to these old games. I was talking with a coworker about this earlier today, and I'm like, yeah, it sets you down in front of like an old CRT from the 80s. You sit on the sofa. If you don't play in full screen, you see the edges of the CRT.
Yeah, you get the bevel of it all, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I do love the rewind feature because I have used that when I've lost a couple of fights where it was like, oh, well, fuck, I could have done this a little bit different. I'll just rewind it.
Big old cheater over there.
It's not a cheat. I'm using what is given to me. That's not cheating. And it's really cool because you'll go back and like rewind and you go back into a fight and like the enemies won't do the same thing, you know? So it's like, oh, that was just that instance where it just so happened that I got fucked up. And then I'll go back through and I'll win the fight. It's like, I love it. It's so good. I don't think I would have as good of a time if I didn't have those features, to be honest.
Yeah,
it helps with the time that it takes for me to play through this. You know, I got kids. I'm super busy right now, so it's just like I don't have the time to just sit there and try to go through all this and the battles and the overworld and like all the walking that it takes because there's like a lot of walking. You know.
Yeah, I also changed the controls in the whole Genesis collection thing to make it more like basically like a standard Xbox controller controls because I think B and A are basically swapped.
Yeah, that takes.
Which is nice that you can do that.
Though. Especially when I jump out of it and then I'm like, I try to exit like out of the game and I keep entering the game again because B and A are swapped in game and out of game.
Hey man, Genesis only had 3 buttons.
Unless you had the 6-button controller.
That's right.
But that didn't come out at this point, I think, because that didn't come out till what, Street Fighter?
Oh, you might be right.
One of the Street Fighters had that's when the 6-button controller came
That's what I had
because
for
they wanted to do
10 too.
arcade.
Yeah.
Anyways, Fantasy Star.
Tom, remember when they put music on a CD?
I still have cassettes. I still have VHS tapes as well.
I
So-
have VHS tapes. That ain't nothing.
We explore Zio's fort. We find an underling of his, smack him really good, and then Zio comes.
That was the
out
noise
and-
of smacking him. I heard it.
That's my dog.
Smacking Zio.
He's being very cute.
Lil Cheese writes into us from the MinMax Discord.
What?
Yeah,
We got
the
Little John on
cutscene
here sometime.
with Zio, where his eyes change color. That sound effect plays, sending chills down my spine.
It's so
Couldn't
good.
agree more. Very
Yeah.
good moment. Love it so much.
Yep.
And the line, "No more fun in games," and his fucking eyes just flashed into that red.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is that great brrr, like sound effect.
That was so awesome.
Oh, he's just built up as and by that point he's built up as such a great villain. Like
Yeah.
there's only one thing he could do that could make him even more of a scumbag. Well, maybe
Murder somebody?
what he does in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, what he's about to do.
Enter Tyler.
he-
I hate it here. I hate this podcast.
Lil Cheese wrote in about another comment that happened earlier. I forgot about when we first meet Rune. I think this is when we first meet Rune, and they're talking about wanting to bring the fight to Zio. And Rune says, "You aren't ready for Zio at this stage of the game." He's like, "I love that fourth wall break that Rune has." He literally says, "This stage of the game." I was like,
Mhm.
and that clicked with me first. I'm like, "Oh, that's good. That's good. I like that line."
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, I want to say, don't they like cut off the music in that moment? Like when he,
Oh yeah, like it literally just goes.
yeah,
and he
like
says it, and then after the dialogue, then it's like, oh.
yeah, and then all the Tono music starts back up. But like
That's
when
great.
he says it, they put an exclamation point on it by completely cutting the music off and being like, "No, you can't do this."
And we find out just how much we can't do it when when in that first fight with Zio,
You do nothing.
we do 1 damage if we hit it all. And
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all, but he wiped out my entire team with 1 move in the first round of combat because he used a move that just hit everybody
Mhm.
The first time out, and that was it. That was the whole fight. It was 1 round of combat.
Which is a move you actually have as Rune when you get him later when he comes back.
Yeah, I was like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction when that happened. I was like, this is what is happening here? Is this supposed to happen, or am I just really low leveled right now?
Started doing heroin.
That wasn't him. That was
Yeah.
what's your face?
See, I like
He was doing it. It was in
I like
the
heroin is
wrong
what I was gonna say.
baggie because it wasn't in a balloon, so she thought it was cocaine. That's why she snorted it. That's why she OD'd.
whatever. It doesn't matter. Pulp Fiction. We get it.
I like when RPGs do this, where a boss is just an overwhelming force that completely destroys you in a turn or two. It's better than the alternative of like in the story, the boss needs to beat you, but they let you beat the boss, and then it's just like, well, no,
your
actually,
favorite
you
thing
didn't.
about games, you beat the
fucking
boss
hate
and then
that.
they beat you.
No, I
And they
freaking
kick
hate
your
that
ass,
so
yeah.
much. It's the
Pretty
worst.
sure in every game we've played,
Every
that
RPG,
happens. You
I
love
say
it.
that.
You're like, yes,
No,
I love this
no,
part.
I don't say that ever.
Yeah, playing another RPG right now, Tales of Arise. I thought that was going to happen, Chris, during the first Lord fight. I was like, "Oh, is this what's going to happen?" And then it didn't. I was like, "Oh,
Whoa.
thank God!" Because for a second,
Spoilers
I
for
was
4 hours into Tales of Arise very early.
it's like, "Oh,
And at the end of that fight, we get a little cutscene where Zio does some ultimate move and infects Alice with some darkness, some dark force, maybe.
ooh."
Well, should be noted, Zio shoots it at Chaz, but Alice heroically
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
to the way. Yes.
Yeah. That's right. We meet Demi here. Everyone rushes out of Zio's fort, and we bring Alice to Krupp, Han's hometown. Yeah, Krupp.
Yep.
To rest, try and heal up. This is kind of where I've ended my second chunk of this note taking. Any thoughts and comments up until this point? Because I kind of want to share my name on the third chunk, but let's
Share your name.
what I've named them internally.
Oh,
Yeah, I was so they take 2 of your party members away here, and you can't get their gear or anything back, which kind of sucks. But it's not because this game constantly has you upgrading gear so much. It's not a big a deal, really. You're just losing out on a little bit of money. It's not like Chris Tales
Not
where you have
money.
like end game stuff on them.
Say what the currency is called.
Maseta or something like that. Right? Yeah.
Maseta.
But I do like it because it's like, oh, okay, they take these 2 party members away, but they don't make it like super difficult for you to like get gear for the next person that comes into the party.
Yeah.
And you get that next party member to replace them like almost immediately.
Yeah.
You know, so it's never like you're missing out on that 3rd or 4th person within your lineup to like
I think the biggest
really affect
loss
your battle.
is Han immediately. Like obviously
agree.
still have
That-
other
I thought the
healers,
loss
but
there, yeah.
the MP that Han had for healing was a lot bigger pool.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to
I think
learn to
you get
like
other
balance
Yeah.
the Chaz and Cat Girl. I don't remember her name. Sorry.
Rika?
Rika.
Rika.
Because
Yeah, you have to learn to balance their
Cat
healing
Girl.
better.
well, they might be horns if you talk to other people.
But yeah, I was like Han. I was actually kind of annoyed with at this point in the game because you cannot find good armor for him. His armor is just terrible. He can't wear any good stuff. So I was okay with losing him.
He's a healer.
Yeah, no.
He's the one that has a circlet, right? That you
Yeah.
can never find a good circlet for whatever
No,
reason.
even
It's
his
like,
regular
oh, okay,
armor.
cool.
Yeah, I did eventually figure out later for Rune and
Doesn't he wear the
Another
same stuff that
character.
Ruin wears?
yeah, but I found out later you just put 2 shields on them. You don't need the wands and shit. You can make
Yeah.
them hella tanky.
You don't need him to attack. Yeah, you just
I did not know that.
Yeah, I definitely double shielded up, especially for the last fight in this chunk, our big boss on Kuran. Our next chunk I have internally named Zio to Zio, airing Tuesday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ABC.
What is this podcast?
fantastic is what it is, Tyler.
I'm having a good
so-
time.
In Krupp, Demi tells us that we can get a vehicle that can cross deserts nearby to explore the world more. And Alice tells us we've got to find Rune. He'll know how to help us take down Zio. So we leave Krupp, and then like 10 feet outside of Krupp, this giant monstrosity of a sci-fi building pops up, and we go get a Land Rover. We get to travel in some
Yeah.
luxury.
It's awesome.
I just put in my notes Land Rover, baby, all in caps, because
It's so
that
good.
thing rules. The music rules. The sprite work of the inside of
Yes,
it during
it's
battle.
so
Yeah, the HUD
good.
basically.
The fact that you
So
can
good.
battle with it is so good.
Yeah, that is very cool.
It makes you feel so powerful launching those giant missiles and like
Yes.
crushing the sandworms that are so difficult early on. Like, that's such a great moment in that game.
It is, and it's crazy because it's still so early on, and it's like you get into this thing and you feel all this power and like this, like you said, the sprite work when you're inside of it, and just that the way that it changes battle when you're in it. It's like, holy shit, what is going to happen throughout the rest of this game? You know, it's like I was so excited when we got in that thing. I loved it. It was so cool.
And so much more exciting things happen still that like
I
I did
know.
not see coming. As someone who hasn't played
know what?
none of these, I was
This is a good game.
it's a very good game.
I know
Yeah.
we said that. This is a good
6
game.
out of 10.
Yeah.
You
It's no
can't
Chris
pet the
Tales,
dog.
but it's a good game.
You can't pet the fat dog.
So we leave Krupp in the local area with our Land Rover. We head across a big desert. We stop in Monsen. We learn Grizz has a fear of earthquakes.
Hold on, I have a
And-
question.
Yes.
Did you get out of the Land Rover before you got to the city? Because I
No.
did, and I had to figure out how the fuck.
Oh, it's just
to
in the
get-
item menu.
It's an item. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I
Well,
was
no,
like,
that's how it's been in all the games, so I
I
already
couldn't
knew
figure
that.
it out. I
but
was
yeah.
like, oh god, how do I get this back?
I had
What am
that
I
moment
doing?
coming back out of the city.
Yeah, and then I had to look it up. I was like, oh, it's an item. I'm so stupid. Because I was walking around, I was like, oh shit, I'm stuck. I can't get across the sand.
And then the first time I walked out, one of those sandworms became the giant sandworm. And I'm like,
Yes,
I'm fucked right now.
yes, that's exactly what happened to me.
Better hope you escape.
And I was like, oh god, I ruined this game. I was like, oh, I gotta make it fast.
There was something I only realized during this playthrough. Actually, there are 2 items because I was going through my item thing before you get the Land Rover. I think it's just before you get the Land Rover and just before you get the other vehicle that we get shortly. And it sits in your item menu, and you can't do anything with it. I think it's just called like keys or like command keys or something like that. And it's like, even for me, who's played this game like 7 times or something like that, I was like, I have no idea what this is. And so I looked it up. It's a in-game like necessity, basically. It's a placeholder because you can't discard that item and you can't use it. So when you get the Land Rover, it can't tell you you're out of item slots.
Yeah.
So it's basically just like a null item that does nothing but needs to sit in your inventory so the Land Rover can replace it, so you always have that item slot. And they do the same thing with, I think it's called like the neutralizer, or it has some random technology based name later, and then they give you the other item. But I just a little fun
That
fact.
is interesting. Did you guys ever run out of inventory space? Because
I bought a shit ton of Dime8, so yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I did, and that's when I realized there is inventory. I'm like, oh, well, let me stop buying like 5 antidotes I'll never use. Let me throw all this shit away.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used an antidote.
Same, but I thought I might.
Or the ones that cure paralysis. I was like, these are
I did have those because when you lose Han, I don't think anybody has anything to cure it right away.
That's fair.
Rika leveled up so fast for me. I believe she's the one that learns how to heal that.
I think Chaz does.
Is it Chaz?
I don't know.
Remember if it was him or her.
Sure.
Either way, one of them learns how to heal it super quick.
Mhm.
Maybe it's Rune. Maybe Rune.
I don't know if Rune gets healing spells, but
Yeah, because he's the only one that has the revive one.
He's the only
He's
tab.
got Rever.
forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the only healing though that he has.
Also,
Anyway,
it's
somebody gets it.
real subtle thing, but like the Highness and Ryukar spells, I don't know if you guys used them as much as I did, but especially with the
They escaped out of the dungeon, and
it's basically like one is an escape rope
I've used
equivalent, and the other
escape
one
pipe, escapipe.
and the other one is a go to any town you've visited previously. So
Yeah,
it is
fly
a fast travel. Yeah, it's escape rope and fly for Pokemon terms. Like it's so convenient to have that in the game. It's such a great like quality of life thing that they clearly thought of so early on, and makes backtracking so good in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured out the escape rope spell very early, but I didn't realize the other one's utility until much later on this playthrough, and I started smacking myself in the head like, "Oh, that's genius! That's really good."
Yeah.
So we get to Monsen. We learn Grizz is terrified of earthquakes. The entire village then surrounds us in a mob and tells us to please stop the plate system. So we head a little more north, stop that, and then head down for Ladea Tower, which is where we find Rune.
Yeah.
Hanging out with the pervy grandpa.
I love this area.
So the thing with curing the earthquakes is there something in your way if you don't do that? Because it kind of felt like a side quest, but then you don't get anything for it. So I'm not sure if it was mandatory or what was going on with it.
It's a good question.
I'm not sure.
I always do it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're not monsters here. We're gonna help the people,
but yeah,
obviously.
Don't really know, but going by what happens in Phantasy Star games, you probably have to do it.
Yeah, it seems like they have their side quests very like committed to that one menu in the first starting planet. Also, in that facility where you stop the earthquakes, you can find an ability for Demi. It's like her only AoE ability, and it does a bunch of damage, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
You get one for Ren as well later.
Yeah, I found that as well.
But I love that they add the skill to Demi and Ren as item pickups.
Yep.
Like
They have to
open it.
install it. Yeah.
Yeah, they make a little cutscene about like, hold on, and for Demi, she's like, everyone turn around, like I'm proper here. I don't want to install this in front of you. And yeah, that's so clever. Like, of course, they're androids. Like, why would they just magically learn these things? Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yep. Again, it's that internal consistency that this game takes very seriously in a great way.
Yeah.
We find Rune, and he's looking for, I love and hate the name of this item, the Psycho Wand.
Yes. That's probably a translation thing, right? Psycho
Might be.
Wand.
I want to say it was in one, but under a different name. Yeah, it's another thing that's supposed to ring with like, you guys don't remember the Psycho Wand, but in Phantasy Star 1, it's just called like I think it's just called Psy Wand or something.
That sounds better than Psycho.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it's a Psycho one. It's like, what? The people are insane? What's
What are people
happening?
doing with this wand?
Yes, turns him into a
Is
psycho.
the Psychonauts 2 reference? What's happening here?
That is very far ahead of its time.
That's right, it was. It's called
Yeah.
Phantasy Star 4, baby.
Yeah, so it can reference any game with a 2 or 3 in it,
Yeah, that's right.
even if they come out much later. That's how that works.
End of the millennium. No, it's 2. That's what
Ryan,
they said.
save him, Ryan.
So we get the Psycho Wand, and Rune joins our party permanently because he like joined up to get us to Tono and then left earlier on. And we head back to Zio's fort for round 2, Zio Boogaloo. We use the Psycho Wand to knock his magic barrier down so we can
Okay,
hit
so
him.
actually, how long did it take you to figure out to use the Psycho Wand as an item? Not,
2 seconds.
Yeah, that wasn't
I
bad.
don't believe the cheater over here, but whatever.
We need a cheater. How do I cheat?
Yeah, once you
Wait,
find that
I'm-
the Sand Rover is an
I'm not
item you have to
cheating.
use, you're like, okay, I understand the logic
Yeah,
in this game
yeah.
now.
Listen,
don't know.
I found out that the fucking Land Rover was an item. I was good the rest of the game. Okay, I'm good. I'm checking everything at this point.
That's
Yeah,
that.
I think the
I feel that is a
Exactly.
justifiable question because I know there are a lot of like I've seen people talk about like just equipping it as a weapon for Rune because you can and trying to hit, which does nothing. But
Listen, I walked around without that Land Rover for a very long time. I realized I need to check my inventory. I'm not going to say how long I walked around.
I feel that it was a fair
it was an
question. though.
embarrassing,
Yeah, I think so.
long amount of time.
I did forget during the boss fight with Zio though that you actually have to use it. In
Oh, is that what you're
battle.
talking about, Tom? In the battle?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
Because you have
I
to
thought-
use it once at the
to neutralize
barrier
his
or
shield.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then in battle you also have to use it, and
Yeah.
it teaches you that in-game language. And again, I don't know if anybody really did it, but like there are some weapons and shields and armor and stuff you can use in battle that will have status effects that will like raise your defense and raise attack and stuff like that. Like it teaches you that in-game language of
I
like
like the face that Ryan's making right now.
I only used it to knock the barrier down. I didn't realize you could.
you can or can't. That's the thing with this game. Like if you never
Maybe
run into those
it's
combo
you.
attacks, you never know how deep that well goes.
Yeah.
Same with the items. Like you
Like
never know.
any of the items that are in your inventory, you can use during the battle. Like
Yeah.
if you have like a laser sword just sitting in there, you can use it.
Interesting.
May not be a good idea, but you can do it.
yeah. Dragon Quest also does that, which is cool, but it's rarely useful. Is it like, are there times where it's like, this is actually a very smart thing to do, or is it like 90% of the time you're just wasting your move?
There can be, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
That's rude.
Thanks.
I
Tom.
was
You
going
gotta
to
find
but
out. Well, you're
but
just
now
gonna
I
go
feel that.
Google it anyway. Like,
Yeah, that's right. Baby.
what does it matter what I
We're
say?
in 2021.
No, I'm not
baby. This is
recording. I'm
what we're
taking
doing.
my sweet time. The only time I'm really hitting that fast forward button is when I'm doing grinding. So I can.
When you're entering and exiting Tyler.
That's right. When I grind on Tyler. So we take Zio
I
down.
hate it here. I hate it. So much.
that was going to be a question I wanted to ask, not the grinding on Tyler part, but have you guys been like? I feel like this game is pretty well paced, where you don't really have to go out on these like oh, I'm going to train for an hour, I'm going to just fight randos for an
Oh, to
hour.
grind, yeah.
But like, have you guys been doing that or?
I had to grind a little bit. Yeah.
I did at the very end of this, and there are other times where some people might call it grinding, but I don't view it as such. Where I'm just like, I'm just going to walk around the exterior world for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, you could
And-
get lost in one of these dungeons, and technically it could be grinding because you'd be like, "Oh fuck, I'm almost dead. I better get the fuck out
Yeah,
of here
that
and go back
That
to
was
an inn."
part of it, but I also did a good stint for like 15 to 20 minutes where I just was grinding just to get levels up because I have the fast forward option and it was like
Yeah.
super quick and easy and fun.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've also had an instance or two where I've grinded for like 15-20 minutes, but the game's good about throwing things at you like the wreckage and like that mission of stopping the earthquakes, where it's just these little short things that serve
Mhm.
as a way to grind.
I can't remember what
Yeah.
there was a boss fight and it's like I could not get past it. So I had to go and grind a couple of levels. And I looked at like the recommended levels that it required for that fight, and I was super under leveled for that fight, so I definitely had to go do that for a reason.
Do you know what level you ended at?
Here,
I'd have to look.
No, just for the chunk.
I have my Switch right here. Do you want me to look it up?
I
think I was 24.
I think I was higher than that. I have been known.
You're always higher than that, right?
I have been on record as saying though that I like enjoy grinding almost. Like
especially in Tyler.
I hate it here. Bob, did you know I hate it?
I could get used to this.
I've heard rumor of such.
Yeah. It's in the papers. Have you seen the flyers?
I think I just have Stockholm syndrome, and like I just enjoy grinding at this point in my life. I do it a lot actually.
I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a problem with it.
Especially
other people.
That wreckage, I'm telling you, early on, that is a perfect little training spot. Like I just spent an extra 10 minutes in there. That's the only extra leveling up I needed to do in this game. Like, and they throw ridiculous money at you for those robot enemies. Like, you can get you're pretty well set after just a little bit of grind.
Well, yeah, after you're fighting the shit in the Land Rover that gives you 1.
Well, yeah,
they make sure you can't farm money in the Land Rover. That'd be way too easy.
These monsters don't have pockets.
Chaz for me ended at level 26 for this chunk.
Yeah, I want to say I'm also around 24. I cannot open mine and check because people will just hear Phantasy Star soundtrack in the podcast.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's a good soundtrack. It's good. So big old fight with Zio. Finish him off this time because we can deal more than 1 damage per character if we're lucky.
Also, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but there was one other connection. I looked this up if anyone else made this connection. Maybe I'm just insane, but I think the boss at the top of the tower where you get the Psycho Wand, that weird like bug thing, it looks exactly like the thing that steals the bride at the beginning of Phantasy Star 3. They're not named the same thing, but there's so many translation issues with these games.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they weren't just named the same thing, but they look identical. And I always thought it was a connection, but as far as I know, there isn't. So it's at least
I'd have to research it, but now that you say that, it seems yes.
Right? Because they're both buggy things, like with those huge pincers up front. Like, I don't know. That's just the connection I always had to that monster. And there's so many connections to previous Phantasy Star games in this game. That's how I always had it. But yeah.
Don't feel bad about interrupting, Bob. We want to give you the soapbox to talk about your favorite game. We know you're.
I got notes. All right, man. I'm loving this.
When they asked me what game I would suggest, I literally said this game because I know that we can get Bob Buel.
I've been ranting about this game. I went to AEW Dynamite, the wrestling show, yesterday.
I saw.
I brought a sign that said Phantasy Star 4 is very good, and it got on TV while Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson were in the middle of the ring, and it got it got a fair bit of retweets. I think it's going to be on Botchamania this week.
Oh, I've seen it on many a Twitter.
Yes,
as I scrolled.
Yeah, so I'm glad I'm giving it some public adulation.
So we take Zio down. Demi tells us we need to get down, stop nervous, which is like the nervous computer center that's been controlling all of the planetary climate control devices.
Someone say the nervous system.
Failing, maybe.
Mother brain,
is
nervous
that
system.
Why they call it that? That's like throwing all the climate wacky in Matovia. We get down there, and Demi's like, well, I've got to sacrifice myself to fix the thing. Get sucked inside.
That's a cool panel of that comic strip, by the way, where she
when it just opens, like just gets jacked in. Let's go.
So cool.
But then still talks to us. It's not like she's dead. She just can't leave there.
Mm-hmm.
She's got to stay there.
She's very busy.
She's an android. She's fine with it.
And then tells us that
it, in a way, some would say. Yeah, but that.
It's not Nervous causing the problems, it's the satellites that control Nervous.
Of course.
So now we have to go to space?
Bum, ba, da, ba, ba, da, bum, ba, 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 bum, ba, 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 ba.
I did not see that coming. I love it. I love it. I love it. So excited to go to space in a JRPG. Oh my god.
Yeah. Always doubling down and always changing your expectations. That's what this game is about. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? Anybody?
I mean, it's not uncommon for Bob and I because you go to space in the other games as well. But
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's fair.
that's why it's very cool, though. That's why I'm saying I like that it's a sci-fi JRPG. Like at this stage when it came out, very cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
it's still
heard,
cool. So
I've heard you compare them to Star Ocean, so I expected space and stuff to come in eventually because I played a couple of those.
Also, I think we didn't mention it, but Alice dies.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
she didn't make it.
Yeah.
It got worse.
Make it.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
There's also a great line I wanted to mention that I put in my notes where in the cutscene after she gets infected with the whatever the evil,
Yeah.
Nay or oh my god, not Nay, Rika, the one who looks like Nay. Rika is standing above her and going, "Not even Girez can heal her," and it plays the sound effect that casting that spell
Like she was trying to do it.
like she was doing it in cutscene. I think that's so cool. Again, it's that in-world consistency of like, yeah, of course they would use the spell that I've been using on my team the entire time to try to heal her, and them even playing the little sound effect is such a subtle little touch. But
Yeah.
when she dies,
Oh, and Grizz can't leave, so he doesn't go to space with us
Yeah. His journey's done.
For now.
For now,
Were we sad about
Stop
that?
spoiling things.
I like Grizz. I like the design of Grizz because it's just something so fucking ugly that is now on your team. But
Yeah, I like the
That's
look of him.
hilarious.
He's very basic in terms of combat. He can attack. That's basically what he does.
oh man, his battle cry where he boosts his attack. That's
He
super
did get
good.
that for the last 30 minutes or hour or something that I had him, I guess.
yeah, and he has Crash, which is like one hit KO, but it never hits.
Never
so-
works.
Yeah, it's like
Never
hit for
Rika's
me
got
once.
that exterminator or whatever too.
Yeah,
But like if you use it on a boss, she just goes like this,
yeah.
and then she just disappears.
I love that they don't tell you nothing happened. They just show
Yeah.
it to you with
It's
the,
just
most,
nothing.
the stupidest GIF ever. Like,
That's awesome.
Just show you nothing happening.
Yes.
So we leave the basement of Zeo's fort where Nervous is and find a fucking spaceship because they weren't lying when they told us we were going to go to space.
yeah.
The animations on this, of it blasting
I
off,
love
and
the little
stuff, it's awesome.
blasting off, and then the little scene where it's just like half cocked off to the side as you're coming into the satellite.
Planet, yeah, it's awesome.
So good.
It's good stuff. We get up to the first satellite, Zalan, and meet Ren. This satellite is basically just a cutscene satellite. We've got a new android in our party. He uses guns.
Yeah.
Big
That's right.
thrusting guns.
Also, fun fact, you might, well, I think everyone but Tom probably knows, Ren is from Phantasy Star 3. Like, he's straight up a party member in 3. But because he's immortal, he's a robot, he's here.
Let's
Sweet.
see it.
And he's
So
cool.
another, he rules.
Yeah, I like Ren. Tells us it's the other satellite, Kuran. You may have heard us mention that name. Is the real problem. So we all, and he wants to join us because it's his duty to, make sure these satellites are upkept to the utmost degree. So he gets on the ship with us. We head off. It turns out we've had a stowaway though. Destroys our engines, and we have to crash land
It's Fred.
on.
Fucking Fred.
Fuck off,
Desert.
Red, with your creepy gas mask and blowing up our old engine.
And we land on a temple.
I love this. It's just like just rips the side of it off. He's like, "What the fuck?"
This whole scene is great. Raja's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raja is
What's really good is that
super funny.
whatever the race of Raja is, you encounter them in 2 and such, but this is the first time you actually get them in, like, you're in your party. Well, actually, for the most part, this is the first time you really get any of these different races in your party.
Yeah, 2 is all human and Nei.
Yeah,
I think.
Aha, you said it.
I know. I made the purposeful. I could have said nay.
Yeah, but like Raja just looks like Piccolo. So
Yeah, they're totally Namekians. They look like Namekians.
These are clearly Desolicians.
Yeah,
Guys, come on,
Yes.
get it right.
You're right.
Okay.
I want to say you fight people
Piccolo?
who look like Grizz in Phantasy Star 1 also. They're like just standard enemy types.
Huh?
Which
is it 1 or is it 2?
Oh, it might be. Well, no, 2 Parma's destroyed, so it couldn't be 2.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Well, isn't he a
One.
Matovian?
Yeah, it would
So it
make
could be
sense. It
2.
would 2. It might be 2. It might be 2. Yeah.
So we get Raja, fantastic healer, great support, like knows all the good heal spells.
Oh, his techniques are fucking. His techniques
Yeah.
and skill are fucking
Oh,
amazing.
Saint
Yeah.
Fire and
Yeah,
Holy
Dabbled
Word.
with those in that final fight because I was like, I need him to do more things than just heal on the turn because I gave him 2 shields because very frail, very fragile.
Yeah.
But like all the spells are support and healing spells. He doesn't have like Foy, Watt. But those
He's got
techniques.
the ban.
But when he
He's
gets Gisar and he can heal everyone huge, oh baby!
I think
so much
can't
MP.
Rika get that too?
A little bit after him, I believe.
It takes her longer, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a great line when you meet. He's got a lot of great lines, but the one I wrote down, I think he like calls Ren a robot or something, and Ren says, "Use the term android, please." And he says, "Android, the droid, whatever,"
Yeah.
which is very fun.
He's got a million puns, and he's so likable. Yeah. Instantly becomes so fan favorite. Like, yeah, he rolls.
Yeah, off the bat, loving that guy. We don't have a lot of time exploring Desolus because we've got so much time exploring Tyler.
He'll be back.
hate it.
Got to get deep in his cave.
We stop in Rian and talk to the bartender, find out about the thing in Tyler. Sorry about that, Tyler.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you, buddy. I did this. I
Very
didn't.
deep inside.
This I ended up having to look up. I was lost here for probably like 30 minutes trying. Like, I see the giant statue. I know I need to click on this thing. It's so freaking obvious, but I need to learn about it first.
You know
Yeah,
that you can pop up the menu and go down to talk, and they'll like.
Yeah, and he
Oh,
says
you
like
matter.
we should visit the inn or something. So I did go to the inn and I stayed at the inn and nothing happened. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But they meant
Yeah.
the bar. I understand that now. I get it.
And I even I also this was when I had to break out a walkthrough. My because in the walkthrough I read was like talk to the old man, and I was like, oh, I found the old man in Tyler, and he like told me about the grave.
You needed a.
Actually, an
He was in
85-year-old
there.
man. I've been an old man this whole time.
And then I'd go over to the statue in Tyler and be like, man, I still can't activate this statue to get this hole open inside of Tyler.
Mhm.
And
Takes a couple drinks, then you get the hole open.
Yeah.
I
You
hate
really
it
have to
here.
rip it open to get that hole. Yeah.
You gotta
You should
spelunk
you
that
should see
Tyler
what comes
cave.
out when you open that hole. Crazy.
And what goes in?
I hate it here. I knew it. I fucking knew when I saw the name of the city pop up.
It's too good.
I knew it. I knew it. I was like, God, this podcast is gonna suck.
God, I saw the name of that city pop up. I'm like, oh, ooh, boy, the jokes. The jokes we will have.
Knew it.
But yes, we get into Tyler's underground. And
I'm changing my name to Raja now.
oh, we destroyed Raja's temple. Your
That's
body's
fine.
a temple, so we destroyed your
I don't like it. I don't like any of this.
You change it to Grizz.
No.
Wolf. All right, we'll call you Wolf.
we do this to get another spaceship because our first one got destroyed in the crash landing so that we can get up to Kuran.
Yeah, it sure was lucky how easy and fast it was to replace that spaceship we just destroyed.
Towns away.
They're like, oh, I think there's another one underground somewhere.
All right, this one's
That's
way
super
cooler.
Convenient.
And
Wow,
it's named
amazing.
after Alice from the first one. So
Yeah.
And this is the point where I went up to the satellite and I explored for a little bit. I'm like, I'm kind of getting my ass handed to me. I feel like I need to grind a little bit. And this is where I came back down to the area outside of Tyler, because they have in the spaceports they have the areas you can walk on to free heal. I'm like, this is the way to grind if you're going to is grind, right near Tyler with the free healing. So I just held that right trigger down and mashed B a lot.
It's fair.
And gained like 3 or 4 levels on everybody, went back up, and guys, we fight Dark Force.
Yeah, and he's
On
definitely dead
Kuran.
forever.
Definitely dead forever.
Mhm.
Yeah, no question.
Is
never
what I
returned.
thought until this podcast.
Yeah.
I do
Wish that
want to
wasn't
mention
spoiled.
I do want to mention 2 quick things about this dungeon. One is that I really took notice of it this time. I think they start in this one, maybe the previous satellite, but there are enemies in this dungeon that can do combo attacks, and I think that's so cool that like they're again teaching you the language of the game. Like, oh yeah, that one enemy that looks like the robot that looks like a tower, like the Eiffel Tower, and then the 2 little fly robotic.
Yeah, because it can call him in, like it does the alarm or whatever.
Yeah, it alarms them in, and then if all 3 are on screen, like the 2 little fly guys like do a beam to the tower, and then the tower hits
Yep,
everybody.
hits everybody. It's
That's
awful.
Like, not only do they have combo attacks, but you have combo attacks of your own. I think that's such a subtle, cool touch.
Mhm.
And then B, rolling right into the boss fight, the sprite of Dark Force, where he's merged with the computer in the back of the
So cool.
satellite, is so metal. It rules.
It's a great
love it.
sprite.
Like the breathing lungs and
Mhm.
like it's just
Mhm.
constantly undulating and like, oh, I love it.
Good word.
Yeah, it's very cool. So is that obviously Dark Force is a connection to the first game you said, right?
Yeah,
One of the other ones.
Kind of all of them.
all of them, basically. Yeah. Well,
Not as much too, but he's in it.
So in the
It's
last time
in
he,
it.
mentioned at least.
Yeah.
so the last time he popped up, did he like get decimated and like you're supposed to put together that like he shoved his remains in this computer to exist still? Because he's meshed in there, or has he always been like part robot?
He's kind of just like a fucking entity.
Yeah, kind of just a magical, devilish.
Yeah,
force.
he's not. This just happens. He's just in the satellite this time. Like he's not normally robotic. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
more entity that just possesses things.
Yeah, but
More or less just a dark force.
Because he possesses 2 people in the first one. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
the king may. Well, yeah, we'll get there.
he may be
Doesn't
possessing
look like-
Tyler.
I'm sure I wasn't the only one to think to use the Psycho Wand on Dark Force as well, as soon as starting that fight.
Oh,
Oh.
I did not.
Oh,
didn't
definitely
use it,
told me
but-
something happened. I don't know exactly what that something was.
Something happened.
It didn't explain. There was a prompt that like effect or something negated, but it didn't go into details.
Oh yeah, it doesn't.
it might
won't.
like lower defense or lower.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if it like lowered magic defense or something weird
Yeah.
like that. But I don't think it does anything. It's not like the Zeo fight where you can't progress.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I had a hit go off before the Psycho Wand hit, and it still did decent damage. I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't have to. And then the Psycho Wand went off. I'm like, well, it did something at least. It wasn't a waste of a turn to try and use that. Because my thought process was Zeo had that shield because of Dark Force. So when I fight Dark Force, I'm going to need similar kind of magic to negate something
Sure.
on that
Makes
fight.
sense.
Yeah. He's not going to possess himself, though.
Yeah.
He's
No,
he
but
trusts
he can
his
protect himself, right?
trusts his gains at the gym. He doesn't need to.
Right.
He doesn't need any kind of magical barrier. But no, the logic I understand it completely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nah, Dark Force has been doing CrossFit for a while. He's been
And he
Been
never
stuck
shuts up about it.
Yeah, he's been stuck in that computer. He's been doing a lot of arm exercises, shoulder exercises.
Cross falls.
That's right.
You find an arm on Dark Force.
You find an arm on Dark Force. How about that?
I'm pretty sure it's in Tyler.
I hate it
We
here.
blew it up and it fell down onto Desolus.
Fist first, all the way in.
I did have a note how extremely lucky they were that Desolus was nearby enough that they could crash land there, because it's not like a plane flying on Earth, right? Like, oh, that airport's just you know a few dozen miles off course. That could be a solar system away there.
And it just so happened to have another spaceship just like, oh, I think there was another one just like hidden away behind a statue.
I mean, Ren is clearly the Chesley Sullenberger of his day to be able to crash land that plane or spaceship therefore into a whole nother planet, let alone the Hudson River. Come on. Talented.
One of the things that we didn't talk about is how Rika and Ren had this relationship prior to their meeting. And
is their master or what, a teacher?
I think
right?
that was really interesting. It's like Rika learned all kinds of stuff from Ren. Like Ren was her teacher for a very long time, and it's the first time they've actually been able to meet face to face. And I thought that little story bit was really cool and interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of vouches for Ren as soon as he joins the party. You know, like you don't know this guy from anyone, but Rika's like, this guy taught me since I was 1 year old. Like,
ever since I came out of the test tube, this guy's been on me about these ABCs, these 1, 2, 3s. I know everything from him. It's crazy.
Showed me how to get inside Tyler.
Fuck, I can't wait for this episode to be over with.
Let's drag it out a little bit longer.
Let's talk about the sprites a little bit more. I got more notes.
Episode couldn't end any sooner.
But that's mostly it for this chunk. Anything we didn't get to touch on? Any notes we didn't bring up you wanted to talk about? I know Bob.
Yeah, would you like to know? I accidentally erased my save in the middle of this while I was looking up levels.
What?
Yeah. Yep.
Why?
Oh no!
Because Tom was talking shit and I used the save states, I accidentally erased one of my.
So you don't have any in-game
You didn't
saves?
make any normal saves at all?
I have an in-game save, but Alice is still alive in that in-game save.
Oh, really? Wow, damn.
All because I tried to look up levels.
That fast forward feature.
Yep.
It's gonna really
amazing.
So basically, I got to play through the whole fucking game for the next episode.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Anyways, I was level 22 and 24.
What level are you now?
10. Yeah.
Well, the good news is you can re-enter yourself all over again.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see my own name pop up and be like, I'm going inside you. A lot.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so that's fun for me.
I did look up, by the way, Ryan, the Psycho Wand resets all stat increases and decreases on your team and the enemy team. So that could actually be useful in later fights as well, potentially.
Very good to know. Yeah.
I did a couple notes we didn't talk about. There's like 2 spots. One of them is when you're going to that weird like cabaret club or whatever in the Hunters Guild, and then there's another in Zio's Fortress where like it's not completely clear that you can go into an area. It looks just like a wall, but it's a slightly different texture because they're turning it into a side view. You're going through a tunnel basically, and it doesn't completely work. Like both times I did not see that. I ran around for like 10 minutes before I was like, oh, I can run into this wall and it goes somewhere, which was mildly annoying. And then also we talked a lot about macros, but I like that if you have restore on a macro, it's actually like literally just better than using restore normally because it will, or any of the reses, because it will target whoever's the lowest on HP. You don't have to like predict where the enemy's going to hit, which is awesome.
Oh, that's really good. I haven't dabbled too much with macros, but that's enough information for me to set more up, honestly.
When you want to start doing like the combos, macros, you can just preset.
That's super.
Oh yeah, because they will go in the specific order. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or as close as possible without the enemies. You know, enemies still take priority wherever they do. But once you figure out like, oh, you know, use a foy and a watt and a whatever, and it's gonna, you know, do I might have just spoiled one of the combos, but whatever. It's real easy. That's why they give you, I think, 15 macros exactly for that reason. Or at least that's what I thought as a kid. I don't know if that's exactly the reason, but
I mean, it makes sense.
yeah,
It adds up.
kind
So
of
you're always looking for that 15th one.
That's right. I'll find it
Probably inside Tyler.
with this new save.
You really need to
Tyler's
spelunk
just
that
playing
cave
right now.
inside, Tyler.
I had 2 save states and I saved over both of them on accident.
What is-
How
How?
does that just happen?
You hit
Because the-
X,
the
or
way-
you hit the X and Y or whatever.
I
the
hit
opposite one.
X instead of Y, and it immediately saved over. Immediately. Are you fucking kidding me? Anyways, whatever.
Glad I'm using the in-game saves.
Yeah.
Quick saves for
It's
little
fine.
things
I
in
like the
game.
game, so it's fine. I did it on purpose because
If you
I wanna
did this
play it
in
again.
Chris Tales, it would have been fucking, no, I'm done. I'm
I
not
did have
playing
to
anymore.
replay Chris Tales. I
That's
had to
true.
play like the first 2 hours of it.
Those are the best hours of that game, though.
I like this game. I'll replay it from level 10. I don't care.
Nice.
I care. I'm so
Now that
bummed.
you can use those, combos that you just found out about.
That's
Yeah,
right.
man.
I'm gonna replay it with a fresh set of eyes.
Just decimate.
That's right.
Oh,
Combos the whole time.
So good.
Knowledge of game.
Never
I-
finished Tales of Arise ever.
No, that's same. Honestly, it's so long.
The only note I had that we didn't touch on was how cool the intro, like the title screen, is in this game. I love the music. I
Yeah,
love
the little bass tone in, like, as it sets in.
Which I swear there's a Charlie XCX song that sounds exactly like it for about 5 seconds, like that real deep bass. Whatever one she's singing about cars, I forget what it's actually called, but the beginning of that song matches perfectly with the beginning of Phantasy Star 4. And like, even if you let it run past the title screen, it'll do like little anime intro comic panels for like the main group, Chaz and Rika and Ren and Rune, and they're just like hero poses, like Ren holding the gun out and Chaz with the sword. It's like so cool, and it gives you a little bit of a backstory about the previous games, or at least about the solar system, like the real broad strokes.
Yeah.
Super cool title screen, and again, I can't overstate how well the music is in every aspect of this game. So yeah, even if you're not playing along with the game, listen to the music. Just jump on YouTube and go type in Phantasy Star 4 music, and listen to a couple of those tracks, because man, they rule.
It is very good. Tom or Tyler, any other notes? Anything we didn't touch on?
Nope.
No? There we go. All right. Well, that is the first chunk of Phantasy Star 4. We will be back in 2 weeks to record the rest of the game. We're going to be playing this one in 2 chunks, so make sure to write in with any more thoughts, questions, or comments. By the 30th, we should be recording that one just before then. Bob, thank you so much for joining us on this first chunk.
This is purely my pleasure, guys. Seriously, I don't know if it came through. I kind of like this game a little bit, and I've been
You know what,
screaming at people for years to
your
play this
save to
game.
level 10 and then you keep playing.
got
Start
the-
from the get-go.
That's right.
That's right. Start where Alice is fresh and young faced in the world.
Yeah.
Now you gotta try and save her, Tyler.
You can do it. I believe in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you level up enough, you can do it. Doesn't this game have a weird glitch? But I remember reading it, because clearly I never got to this point. But like, if you get to level 99, it'll let you go past it, but your stats decrease because of a weird bug. Like you should
Oh.
never get to that level. Like, there's no reason to ever get to that level.
I thought it didn't send you back down to like 1.
I think
I
that
thought
might
it was
be it.
it was
like,
something like super really bad. Like,
yeah. Like
Loops.
it somehow screws you over in that
Yeah.
way, which is like, again, you'll never get to that level.
no, that's
naturally,
ridiculous.
but yeah, I feel like I'm level 99 right now, you guys, just talking about this.
You better be careful, man. You might turn level 1 here pretty soon.
Whoa!
Or level 10. All because you tried to look up your levels in the middle of a podcast. And
But no, for real. Thank you guys. This is so much fun. I can't wait to do it again, and I can't wait to finish this game. Like just stopping where we stopped, I was like, oh, I know what comes next, and I really want to get to it. Some of my favorite stuff is still to come, so I'm very curious what everybody thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar reaction of I don't know what's coming next, and I can't wait to find out what's going.
I bet Dark Force is coming back. Unfortunately,
You don't know that. Maybe we're just playing with you.
maybe you were.
We're just tickling the Tyler.
Well, he's definitely coming back for you, even if he doesn't come back in the second half of the game.
Yeah,
you haven't seen
Fuck
it
you.
once yet.
you're actually going to see him twice. One with Zio and one with us.
I hate you.
Tyler's so ready to hang up this phone call. Bob, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, if any, well, that's very kind. Thank you. Yeah, if anyone isn't sick of my voice yet, it's 99 questions. It's the number 99. It's a wonderful podcast I'm very proud of that I do. I ask all sorts of celebrities and wonderful folks the same set of 99 questions that I've had some great folks on, like the Dan Reicherts and Mary Kishes of the world, and Jeff Corks, Ben Hansons. I've had Sam Reich from College Humor, Brendan Lee Mulligan from Dimension 20, actors, comedians, Jeffrey James. Just look it up. Yeah, go look up 99 questions on any podcast app, and if you see a purple and gold logo, that's your boy right here. More than anything, if I may stand on a soapbox, if you're listening to this right now, go to iTunes, because everyone has it. We know you have it. And review it. Give it 5 stars. Go to Spelunkers and give it 5 stars. Just write the words Buel sent you. I don't care. You don't have to type a whole thing if you don't want to. But leave a review. It helps everybody. I know for me personally, when I see a new review in there, it puts a smile on my face. And it's super nice. It only takes like 30 seconds. So if you're listening to this right now and me rambling at you digitally, go and do it. Because it's real simple to do, and it puts a smile on people's face.
Well,
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, buddy.
We appreciate that.
I would recommend. Bob got one of the greatest guests recently. Household name, we all know her, Alexa.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I interviewed an Amazon Alexa for like an hour 20. It was bonkers. I didn't know a lot of those answers were pre-programmed in there, but yeah, that was insightful, and that was all true. Those are all the actual. I edited out some dead air in between when it was thinking, or like gibberish responses of her saying, "I don't know what you're saying," but every response I got is the actual response that I got from Alexa. So, yeah, give that a listen. It's very fun.
Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you.
Tom, anything to plug?
No. Nothing that's happening recently. Normally Saturdays we do Wasted. 5 Central-ish. Been on hiatus a little.
I'm busy
with that and Last Call. So neither of those have been showing up. And I haven't done Draw This or Convince Me in a while because I've been busy.
Hey, did you guys?
So those
know
are
that
Mondays and
having
Thursdays
kids
usually.
makes you very busy. Did you know that?
Especially when they're in school.
Yeah, did you know this?
I've heard as such.
Yeah,
Have you heard about this? Have you read about this? Have you seen the news? Have you seen the papers? It's all over the place. It's crazy.
Extra, read all about it.
Yeah, having kids makes you extra busy. It's crazy.
Tyler doesn't have anything to plug because he's going to be replaying all of Phantasy Star 4 the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
he's gonna be plugging himself.
Yeah.
I cannot even
With a hatter
describe in words how frustrating it is that I just deleted my save mid-podcast.
I was wondering why your head was down for so long. You just started playing again, or what?
For a second, I was like, should I just fucking play while I'm in the middle of this just to try to get somewhere? So frustrating. I cannot believe I did it to myself. But that's what I get. That's what I get. So,
Chris, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yes, follow or subscribe rather to our YouTube channel, please and thank you. We would appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you are listening to the podcast version, we'll put a YouTube link in the description. Also, we are very quickly and surprisingly quickly coming up on our Extra Life on October 2nd. We'll be doing 24 hours. I know me and Ryan will be there for the whole thing. Tom and Tyler. Tom, you might be there for the whole thing. Tyler, you'll jump in at least a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Again, kids, have you read about this? Have you heard about this?
I'm trying to send mine away for that, so I don't have to worry.
Tell me where you're sending yours. I'll send mine.
I'm sending them to Ryan's house.
All right, cool. I was gonna send them to New Jersey. I was gonna send them to Bob's house.
Oh, you know what? Let's send them to Tyler. We'll send them into Tyler.
I got plenty of Tullamore due. We'll have a party. We'll play Phantasy Star.
Drink whiskey.
Listen, kids, let me tell you about the destruction of Palma, all right? These jerks, Rolf and Rudo from Phantasy Star 2, they came in like they're hot shots, eh?
One of my children may eat that up, the other one not so much.
Yeah, we're still trying to nail down some specifics, but we do have a handful of Steam codes to give away on that stream.
Ooh.
So make sure to keep your ears open for more specifics about our Extra Life charity stream this year.
I hear people love giveaways. They love
I hear the same thing.
Everybody's doing them. Giveaways, all over the place.
We might just give away Tyler.
Please do. And then if you could throw me over a bridge, that'd be great.
And check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Spelunkers. We stream a lot of different things, a lot of nights of the week. I'm sure there's something on there that'll catch your eye. We got Pokemon going on, Resident Evil. Every Sunday we stream something co-op. It all depends on who's available and what we're in the mood to play, but we're always playing something on Sunday. And check out our other content. Last Call.
Is that the name of the stream? Something on Sunday. Because I think that should be it now.
Oh, that's pretty
Something
good.
on Sunday.
SOS.
Oh, man.
They're listening to magic happen.
Look at this.
Yes. Somebody notarize something on this. Trademark stamp. Bam.
And in this same podcast feed, make sure to check out Gotta Rank 'Em All. We've had Bob on as a guest. Chris and I are ranking all of the Pokemon, and it's about to be even more Pokemon come January. When's Legends launching?
January something, yeah. End of January.
Yeah, it's going to be even more.
I just pre-ordered Shining Diamond.
Diamond.
Yeah,
Shining
right?
Pearl. Shining Pearl.
Shining Pearl.
Shimmering Diamond? I forget what. Brilliant Diamond.
Brilliant Diamond. Shining Pearl. Yeah.
Yes. I just pre-ordered Brilliant Diamond, or yeah, whatever it is. And yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, very
More
excited.
Pokemon. Hook it into my veins.
25 years, non-stop. Keep going.
Keep going.
But that'll do it for the Spelunkers tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. Come inside, Tyler.